Hello, hello. A very good evening to you all. Welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I hope you're doing very well. Great to see you all again. It's been far too long yet again. Summer has been absolutely crazy, as you can imagine. So, yeah, sorry it's been a while, but great to have you all here now. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Welcome to another live stream. We're going to be heading for a flight down to Perugia in northern Italy. It's a classic weekend stream, just like where this channel spent most of its time for the first year and a half, or even 2 years, I suppose. And I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to be taking the fly-by-wire A320NX A320 NEO for a flight from Heathrow, and it's come a long way. My goodness, so much has changed since I last used it, and I can't wait to get it in the air. Try it out. I did use it for a video recently, but only looked at a very little part of it that was recently added, so should be good fun. We're going to use this, what I think is a fantastic livery, the BA Better World livery, really nice shades of blue. I just think it's quite good fun. I think it looks really smart on the Airbus and looks quite nice in the sky. So this was on flightsim.to. Hope you're doing very well. Great to see you all here. As usual, we will jump into the chat. We've got time to chat once we get underway, of course. So we'll do a cold and dark setup of the airplane and then get going. So good to see you, Rob's Aviation, Chickpoint, Iglufu, Liam, Wide Womble, thanks for coming as well, and moderating Chaos, James Atkinson, great to see you all here. I hope you're all doing very well. Stormcode says, busy day on VATSIM today, especially on EU. Yeah, so I actually got kicked out of the UK server. It wouldn't even let me join. There were too many people, so it's very busy. Amazing. I wonder if it's something to do with the the Artemis cancellation. Anyway, Iglufu says, perfect morning, woke up to finish my VRMM landing. Excellent. We love the Maldives. Got to watch Quali live and now 320 Sim Pilot stream instead of replay. Excellent, Iglufu. Great. Thank you for joining us. Right, Streamlabs had the wrong route. I hopefully have corrected it now. Apologies for that. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I get out of practice of these streams and it all gets difficult again. Great to see you, Amza, Gav. I hope you're doing very well. Chaos, Status, Stormcode, Flight Simulators 197, Grand P, KMZR. I hope you're doing well. Pete White, Flight Simulators 197. The plane registration looks crooked. Agreed. I like this livery. I think there are a few liveries. This one looked to be my favourite in terms of capturing the colours, but yes, that is not quite straight. I imagine that's a very hard part of the aircraft to paint. Paddy will know, but it's just the wrong place. So sadly, that's slightly out of line, but still, I think they've done a very good job. And these liveries can't be very easy to make. All these little dots and things. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how to do liveries at all. Good evening to you on Twitch as well. Thank you for joining us over there. Garrickson, Wild Womble, 4 Prawns. I hope you're doing very well. Great to see you all here. John Padfield, good evening to you, Udini as well. And 4 Prawns, thank you very much for supporting the channel as always, as you have so much over the last couple of weeks. Right. Let us get into the airplane and have a look at it. First of all, we'll just take a quick scoot around. We haven't flown from these stands at Heathrow. This is the default Heathrow. You can see now that all my A320s have been painted up as BA Better World liveries. So that's a bit of an interesting one. Thank you for the follow, old boss. And Jordy Robert, good to see you. Hello to you. Thanks for coming along. VT Jake, I hope you're doing well. Jayla says, is Artemis cancelled again? I shouldn't be surprised, but still. Yeah, sorry, I hope it's not a spoiler, but yeah, it sadly, I think it's been scrubbed for today because it was going to be at the end of the stream and I was going to sort of watch it along with you guys, but that's not happening, it sounds like. So yes, it looks like British Airways have painted all their aircraft in TTNA in our land. So there we go. Yeah, looks like it isn't straight either. No, they're slightly off, isn't it? Again, I haven't had much time for flight simming, so I didn't get too much around to it. The A320s, I think that, yeah, it does go slightly up, slight angle at the end, but yeah, definitely NA isn't. But there we go. I still think it's a nice representation. We'll just we'll smooth over that one. We'll just go around to the other side where we can actually see it. Slipstream, thanks for the follow as well. Virtual Pilot says, don't you feel the A320 NEO in Microsoft Flight Simulator is very light on handling? Or manual landing, is that? I will have a go today. We shall try it out. Afternoon, Ebelius Kitius. Good to see you. I hope you're doing very well over on Twitch. Adam Farkas says, kindly super chatted £10. Thanks so much, Adam. Very kind of you. Adam says, good day, Cap. Happy to caught the stream. Literally flying the A320NX from Edinburgh to Gardermoen right now. Going to watch the stream in cruise. Excellent. Thanks so much, Adam. Really, really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Very, very much appreciated. And thank you for supporting the channel. I hope you're doing very well. I hope your flight goes well and you have a nice landing over in Gardermoen, which is Oslo Gardermoen, isn't it? Have I got that right? I struggle with the actual names. But yeah, great to have you here. And thanks so much for your very, very kind donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Udinese says, will you use GSX tonight? No, I have not successfully installed GSX properly. So you may see some GSX vehicles. I have not installed it myself correctly. That's my fault. So I don't want to mess that up. But yeah, so it's not installed, so it won't work properly. Om says, is the Phoenix A320 working for you? It's not working for me. It has been. Yes, it has been. I don't think I've had any other issues. Right. Chickpoint says, from now on, we're addressing this airplane as Tina. Okay, why not? Yeah. John's having a pint and a packet of pork scratchings whilst watching the stream. Now, that sounds nice. Sadly, I will not be. But yeah, enjoy those. Right. Frosty Cab, good to see you. Richard Dudley says, someone needs ARP traffic or similar just to get some better parked aircraft. Yes, well, I believe there's some traffic stuff on the way. Is that right? That was last time we flew. It was an incoming thing. There we go. There's a nice angle. Beautiful. I think this is a really nice livery on the NEO. Really nice. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right. Yeah, so we haven't flown the A320NX for a while. I actually got in trouble a few times with a few viewers for flying. I've flown the Phoenix a lot. I say a lot. We haven't done much streaming this summer. The last couple of months have been very, 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 very busy, and then a lot of other stuff in my life has been going on over the last couple of months. So it's just not been as practical as I'd like to stream. As the months now go on, we're getting into the more normal time of the year for me, as well as a more normal time in terms of workload. So hopefully we'll get a few more streams in, and of course in the winter, less likely to be outside. So there we go. So yeah, it's come a long way. We've got lots of new things. I don't think the chocks were here last time we flew it, just for example. This is the latest experimental version, so there may be bugs. We're not going to criticize at all. This is entirely just to try it out and take a look at it. They've just been adding and adding and adding to it, especially the EFB I've noticed has changed a lot. So let's jump into the flight deck and take a look. Right. That's where I was looking last. So, cold and dark aeroplane. Yeah, you can now, in the EFB, it loads up and you've got this little tab. You can import your sim brief data into there, which is great. Then it loads up the weather for you, which is good as well. This is stuff we've seen in the Phoenix as well, of course. But look at this little detail. You can click on here and it swaps over to the times. Just brilliant. Scheduled times, I suppose. And then you could load in your new flight or whatever. So we're going to be the Speedbird 315. We've got our Costa coffee already there. Checkpoint's a fan. Excellent. Andy H132, good to see you. Thanks for coming along and moderating. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so there's our route. It's quite a long route today. It should now be correct in Streamlabs if you ask for it. I just need to say thank you again to Adam for that very kind donation. Really appreciate it. Then we've got our clipboard, which has got just our flight plan. What does overview give us? A map or something? Oh, there you go. That's the actual aeroplane. Lovely. Look at that. It even has the call sign. That's good. Very good. I suppose it can convert it. We're going to Heathrow to San Francisco, as it always appears. Right, so let's order the fuel, because that's something you do quite early in the process, really. So block fuel required 7.4, 15 minutes contingency with a ludicrous alternate of Naples, which is, we'd go to Rome, of course, which is closer than Naples. So we don't need 1.5 tons there. So I'm actually quite happy with 7.4 tons on the fuel. So let's go to refuel 7.4, just over. I suppose you can import it. There you go, fill it in from SimBrief. See, there's loads and loads and loads of these little details have been added in. There it is. But in the real Airbus, by the way, I don't know if I've talked about this, you can't set individual numbers. So you can go one decimal place only. So you can put 10.2 or 7.4. So if the SimBrief number is 7373, 7.4 would be what you want on the display. I don't know how this will do it, so I'm actually going to do 7428, just to have a little bit extra, because that's probably what would happen. And then we can run that. I've got it set to instant just for streaming purposes. So that's the fuel done. Pushback we're not worried about yet. Oh, look at all this. Wow. My goodness me. I need to check a lot more of this out properly. Payload. How do we load this? I want it to load just from SimBrief. There it goes. Click that. It's a pretty full plane, 174 passengers, 4 tons of cargo. Gives us zero fuel weight CG of 24. Whereas our zero fuel is 60.7. Wow, we're heavy. Yeah, so as long as we're landing below 66. John Padfield, I hope you're doing very well if I didn't say hi already as well. Good stuff. Right, so yeah, so that's amazing, isn't it? So I don't know how many of you have been using A320NX. I'm sure lots of you have, but it's certainly come a long way on this EFB. And then I've noticed there's a whole load of other settings we can look at in the cruise. So payload, load, go. That's done. Feel the weight shift, but the plane's cold and dark anyway, so that would happen later, to be fair. Oh, I can hear. What can I hear? I think I can hear passengers. Oh, there's a jetty in the way. Can we open the door? Or maybe not. I know what we could do. Let's go to The sun's come out for our departure. Lovely. Yes. Excellent. That's quite a nice one. Get that blue engine. Good. Anyway, passengers are on illegally because we haven't got the emergency lights on, so that's no good. But let's get the airplane up and running. So, mode selection all, master switch is off, weather radar is off, landing gear lever is down, wiper selectors are off, batteries we are looking good, 26.8, 27.2, checked, and into auto. There's the clunk, first systems come to life, and external power is available, that's coming on. You can unlock the door at the throttle quadrant and get a nice cabin sound. Ah, there we go. Yeah, so how's that? Can you guys hear any of the background noises? How's the airplane sounding? Perugia is just north of Rome, is anyone wondering? Oh, something went quite quiet. It's a bit quiet. Okay, yep. Correcting. Hopefully that works for you. Thanks, guys, for the subscription. Good. Yeah, so anyway, that goes on, and then a new item that we run earlier on now is that these can go to nav at this stage. That used to be later on in the flow, but why not do it sooner, I suppose? And then we would, of course, check speed retracted, disarmed, flaps are at 0, levers at 0, parking brake is on, we've got accumulator pressure. Oh no, we don't have accumulator pressure. So to fix this, we would check with the ground crew it's all clear. I mean, by now they would open up that cargo door, but what I'm going to do is you'd have to check it's all clear around. You wouldn't just do this randomly, but you turn on the pump. It's not that loud. But remember, when you use that, that button, it does run the PTU. There we go. Accumulator pressure is safely in the green. Good. Yeah, and we would check our OEBs. Great stuff. OEBs are something you need a QOH for, so I never really talk about them on the channel. And there's not too many around at the moment, thankfully. So let's get the screens all set up. I've also got the new sim bridge running. I don't fully understand what it involves, but it does give us a terrain radar now. Another great new feature in the A320NX, which is nice to have. Good. So going into the flow then on the overhead, crew supply, ground control, test. Nice, working. Those are all in nav already. Move down here. Auto and arm. Fuel's on. Nav lights, auto on the strobe lights, moving up, anti-ice all off, landing elevation in auto. Air conditioning we can leave off for now, but well, they're all selected on as they would be. Though we have got passengers on board, so that's what we should have done by now. Oh, APU fire tests. Looks good. Fire up the APU. Also recently they added manual gear lever, says came to that. Indeed, and I made a video on it. So if you go to my channel, there is a video all about that, which has not captured many people's imaginations, I don't think, but it's it's quite a technical video, but it's a great new feature they added. So that goes start.
Airbus traffic lining up and taking off on 26 right.
Oh, I've got the wrong runway. Won't be here long, just going to wish you a good stream and hope to catch you longer. The next is KLP. Thanks for coming along, KLP. Hope to see you next time. Kyle, good to see you. Yes, you have indeed caught us live. Absolutely. Right, AP's on the way. There it is, loading up down there. Do you remember where this airplane was when the sim launched? Can you believe it? Here we are. Engine fire tests. Yep. Yep. You would also look down when you do that, check the ECAM and check the fire light on here, but a little hard to do with just a mouse. And over here, masters norm, off. Well, I say off, lights are out, so they're all on actually, and so are the flight control computers. Good. Moving down, we need to set the QNH. Great feature of Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm still a fan. Thanks for the subscription to Sizapi. And anti-skid nozzle steering is on. Still got enough pressure. APU is now available. Let's start the timer just to let it warm up. Moving down. Everything is in the right place. That's down. Great. So, time to... There we go. I have to remember what all the keys are. The time to load this up. So let's first... Do we have to initialize in this now? I can't remember. I'm trying to make sure I get the right ones.
Correction to the left.
Flytro says the fly-by-wire is the best freeware mod ever created. There you go. I can't argue with that. It's excellent. Truly excellent. I'm sure some Zebo fans will have something to say about that. There we go. Heathrow to Perugia. 7.4 tons. Great. So that's loaded. Weather request. Actually, no, we'll grab an ATIS, won't we? Because I think Heathrow has a controller. So we'll get that printed out and ready to go. Anything else we need to do here? We're not sending in messages. It's not going to do a free text. Okay, so we'll go back to data, aircraft status, check we have a good database, which we do. That's nice. Init, request. Olgi says, quick question. If I have a 3090 Ti CPU, is there any need to upgrade to the 4000 series? It's 3090 Ti GPU. I wish I could tell you. I'm running a 3080 and i7-10700K. So it depends what processor you're on at the moment, I suppose. And you can look up whether it's your processor that's restricting you. But with a 3090, it almost certainly is. So if you upgraded your processor, I would imagine you'd see an improvement. But it might be not a big improvement if you're already running on pretty good hardware. It might not be that big of an improvement. Remember, the Zebra has years of development. Fly-by-wire is still quite new. That's true. Yeah, that is absolutely true. But yeah, this is an amazing freeway. I mean, there's not a competition between them. They're totally different airplanes and different simulators. It's not even to be said. They're both absolutely fantastic and the result of a lot of hard work by a lot of people who are just so enthusiastic for what they're doing. So yeah, we are certainly not going to criticize either in any amount. Right. Oh no, I know what I need to do. I need to actually print it, don't I? Receive messages. ATIS. Print. Good. Right. It's initialized the routes. Beaver 315. Also from Naples. Well, we're not going to do that. Heathrow to San Francisco. Cosmonaut 36. Flight level 370. Winds. Let's request those. Oh, he has a 12900K CPU. Wow. Well, I mean, that's an amazing processor. The 12900K. I'd love to have that. So I can't imagine you're going to be suffering too much. So you might not. I don't know if you'd notice much difference, but that's already amazing equipment. Dotted line on your flight plan, James. If you do a direct to, you could join it up, or it could just be a vector built into it. Sometimes they have that where you can't actually. It's just a manual vector in the star or the arrival. Right, temperature on the ground, 22. It's quite mild in the UK today. Good. So that's data, and it's a flight plan. So we are arrival 27 left, departure 27 right. And we are going out. We're still on single FMGC. That could be the way I've done it. But let me just check the route so I know which way we're going. I think it was on here. If I close that, Detling to Golf. Well, we're going from 27 right, so I guess it's that Detling. Insert 27 right, out, EPM, Detling, Det, Dover. So if I go to plan, constraint, zoom in, yeah. Oh, there's no dash, I suppose, because it's not a manual vector. But yeah, Dover, that would be off to the southeast, won't it? So if we clear the discontinuity and join those up, yep, that looks sensible. And then through the route we go, over 790 miles, quite a long flight, so we're going to get going fairly promptly. We've been going 22 minutes. We're worried about the arrival once we're underway. It's nice to see that that's now works anyway. How's that as a flight plan? Secondary, it doesn't work yet. I had a funny feeling it did, but obviously not. Secondary, Radnav, auto tune, init B. So here we're going to put in our weights. By the way, we can get the APU bleed going, get rid of the ground power. See what the conditioner page does while we do that. So yeah, pumping in some cold air. Good. So we have a zero fuel weight of 60.7. Max of fuel 24.2. Very forward. .7 I suppose we don't need to do that in the flyby because we could have just pressed it and it will automatically populate it. But there it is. So either or. Block fuel. We have our 7.4. It was correctly loaded. But yeah, so you couldn't be that accurate. 7420. It would just be a bit over 7.4 or a bit under. There it is. Trip wind we've loaded in, so 67.9 takeoff weight, 3 tons over max landing, depending on the fit of this airplane. But 66 is quite common. Christopher is currently on the route to JFK. Excellent, enjoy that. Yeah, so that gives us 700 kilos extra, which is good. We've also got 200 of contingency fuel, and that's an alternate of 1.2, which would be enough to get us to Rome, even if it's not enough all the way to Naples. Finally then, performance. Heathrow's massive runways, so we'll go for flaps 1, flex 69. What can I hear?
My bad.
useless. Why my radio panel is not working at all, funnily enough. My Logitech panel. Have I disconnected it by accident? Oh well, that's not going to work, so we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Anyway, so we'll put the speeds in. Don't get distracted at this point. That's a bad thing for me to do. And there we go. So that's a performance down, flat 1, flex 69, 35, 36, 40. Great. Right, so the airplane is almost ready to go. We just need to finish up on what that departure actually involves. So let's go back to our charts. Dettling departure from 27 right. Dettling 2 Foxtrot, it's called. There it is. So 27 right, we're going to take off straight ahead. Then we're going to go to 2 miles. So there's the B for 2, left turn, 136. And then another left turn after Epsom. And keep going east, climbing to 6,000 feet. There it is. Constraints. And we'll put a VO up. And I'll have an NDB as we're going via an NDB, unusually. Flex temp I've made up KMZR. I just know that the 320 NEO at just above sea level will flex to 69, but yeah, that's something you need a performance calculator for officially. Let's have terrain on then. So is this going to work? Do I need to do something else? Does it need to be in the air? I don't know. Also, I'm a little surprised to see that 1,000 above us. I'm not sure why that's already there. But again, this is the experimental version. I'm risking it to see what new features we can get hold of. I like that they have the terrain sticker, in-op sticker, just sort of worn away like that. It's quite good fun. So yeah, that's quite good. Bit of talk about CPUs there. Kelpie, thanks so much for your $5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Kelpie says, have you thought of any plans for South American tour yet? 70k subs. Kelpie, that's very kind. I have not had the time. I must be honest. So this is the mission today is to check out this aircraft and see what's going on with the fly-by-wire. But we absolutely will be going to South America and doing a bit of a tour around there. So yeah, that is coming regardless of the sub count. That's something I want to do, fly around a bit more of the world, as well as New Zealand is on the list and a few more places in Australia. We've got plenty to do, and then we need to go to Asia and fly around there. So we've got so much to do, but it's going to be better when I have a bit of time to actually prepare and hopefully come up with some good routes and things like that, which it's amazing where the time's been going. I can't believe it, but there we go. So as I always say, incoming, but yeah, it's something I will look forward to. So thanks so much, very kind, really appreciate the donation, and thank you as ever, Kelpie, for supporting the channel far more than you need to. Really very kind. I think THS is trim, but I'm not sure. So Apen, so THS is trimmable horizontal stabilizer. You don't have to enter it. It doesn't need it on any of the airplanes. I think some is this the one that does want it? On the A320 family and the NEOs, you don't need to enter it unless some operators have that fitted as a requirement. I can't remember if fly-by-wire does want it. I have a funny feeling it might have done, actually. Does anyone remember? Oh, I don't remember. J-Man, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. John says, need to get some goo gone on that sticker. It would upset my OCD. Yeah. Yeah, they're not too bad, the old in-op stickers, but it was there for a long time, so I suppose that's why. You're fine without it on fly-by-wire, Videos Kitty says. Excellent, fantastic. So that is good. Right, so something else that's changed. So we've loaded up the airplane. We've got passengers. We don't need that calculator. We don't need the charts because I'm using other charts. Yes, there's a whole radio frequency thing. So look at this. So I can set my active frequencies according to this. So this is brilliant. So let's set... no. Let's set it to EGL approach, I suppose. We've got the 80s. Heathrow director. How good's that? And then is there another one? There's no London controller. Essex? I don't think we're going by Essex, although I suppose they could be above, so we'll set them to standby. Good. Right. Are there any checklists on this now? Yes, there are. Wow, look at this. So these are heavily reduced checklists.
Golf Tango, Tango November Bravo, Heathrow Director.
How interesting. Okay, copy prep. Gear pins and covers removed. So if I haven't talked about that before, gear pins fit in here, and under those you have to check that they are not on the airplane. Fuel quantity. 7.4.
Golf Tango Tango November Bravo, clearance is Liverpool.
Seatbelts
on lap 1 Foxtrot
on.
departure.
Yeah,
Squawk
on.
is 0753.
ADs are in nav. Barra ref, we got 109 on both.
Take the Liverpool on lap
Great.
1 Foxtrot departure.
4-star checklist.
0753.
Let's
Golf
check.
Tango Tango November Bravo.
Parking brake is on.
Bravo, reback is correct.
Takeoff speeds and thruster
Nigeria
inserted. Windows are closed.
742, no
Beacon,
further
we'll
ATC,
put that on once we're
Unicom
actually cleared.
122 decimal
So let's go and grab our
eight.
clearance. That's the essential checklist for when you're late. Exactly. Voyager UK, thanks for your subscription.
Speedbird 4901 uniform 26.
So we are Speedbirds 315, and we have, what's that information? Because I messed this up last time we did it. Lima.
That's Speedbird 491 uniform. Your speed now
QNH
220
1009. Actually, we need to read back what it says. 1009. Yeah, and we.
Speedbird 42 Delta Bravo. Leave Bovington heading 12.
Am I correct to call up this this controller? What stand are we on?
Heading 125 42 Delta Bravo.
Oh dear, it's not written anywhere. I think I grabbed some charts. One of these, 521. Yeah, I think. Do I need to call this controller? There's no ground or towers to direct it is. Okay, great. Let me just check my buttons are all assigned correctly. Yes. Heathrow, good evening. Speedbird 315, stand 521. A320 NEO with Lima, QNH 1009, request clearance, Perugia.
Speedbird 315, Heathrow director, good evening. You're cleared to Perugia. It's a Detling 2 Foxtrot departure. Squawk is 7024.
Go to Perugia, Detling 2 Foxtrot, squawk 7024, Speedbird 315.
Speedbird 315, reback correct, report ready.
We'll go Speedbird 315. Right.
Speedbird 42 Delta Bravo, descend flight level 80.
Nope. Squawk, our side, above, altitude reporting on, standby. Standby, great. Speedbird 315, ready for a request push start, stand 521.
Speedbird 315, your push and start approved, face east.
Push start approved, face east, Speedbird 315. Great. Beacon on. You're going to check the thrust levers are definitely at idle. Crucial, because if you start them up, if you started the engines there, they would just accelerate and you'd probably push the tug backwards. And worst case, you could suck someone into an engine. Make sure the windows are definitely closed and locked. And our flight deck door, does it open now, by the way? No, I don't know. So we'll make sure that's not unlocked anyway. So that's closed. There we go. Good. Let's finish the checklist then. Beacon is on. Oh yes, and transponder to auto.
Continue left turn.
Right.
Continue left turn.
4-star is done.
0 degrees.
Ah, I see. You marked the whole checklist is complete. There you go. After start's next. We're not worried about it. No cabin models and no door opening. I see. Thanks, the chaos. Good. Right. Yashes, are you following the new Airbus SOP or the old one? I'm doing very much a hybrid, so I don't actually use anyone's SOPs when I do this. I just do a mix of things. Some things are very generic and used across all airlines, and some things are not. So I don't want to be too specific with the SOPs I use. And if there's a checklist included, I'll just use that. Quite happy to do that. Right. So we need to face east. So that is going to be ground. We're done services. So goodbye to the jet bridge. Go ahead for 315.
315, is it possible to push long to leave Hanley clear in front of you so you can exit via Hanley?
Yeah, if we manage to turn to face east, we can definitely get all the way to there. So we'll do a long push and to leave Hanley clear so we can clear via Hanley speed with 315.
315, thank you. There'll be an aircraft to face you, be both exiting via Hanley.
Roger. Okay,
491 uniform,
GP you can go.
3,000 feet, then further with the glide path.
Good luck to us. Beacon on. That's a sign of an airplane getting ready. So,
subject to the company 320 on your
let's
left-hand
see.
side.
We're going to push to face east.
Push
We're here. We're going to push face east. Hanley's here. So we need to go all the way back to here to go out like that. They're going west, so they're going to go that way to go out that way. Okay. Oh, let's see if we can manage this. I don't know, Adam. I don't know. GP, why is it in amber? Should be gone. Pushback.
25 miles to 27 left. Descent to altitude 3,000 feet. QNH 1009.
Yep. No, we don't have another add-on. That's good.
QNH 1009. 40 Delta Bravo.
Tug is attached.
838. your
Can we draw it, or do we just use
check your
this?
port for me.
Controller input, tug direction.
3838, push and start approved.
I think this is just going to be a very focused push from us. So let's release the brake. Let's start the mission clock. 4 minutes late, not bad, not bad.
I think, can you accept Alpha 8 for departure, Alpha 6?
So our nose needs to go to the right, so we're facing east. Let's go.
Can you do any intersection, or do you require full length?
We take Alpha 4.
355 Mike, taxi Alpha. hold
Hello,
Alpha
David from
4,
Leeds.
report
Excellent.
ready.
No planning, only pushing. Okay, no problem at all.
Wilco, it's 35 Mike, thanks.
2491 uniform.
Ah, live
Speed
picture.
16
How good.
knots, maintain till 40 me.
What's the stone for 40 meters? Do you have 101 uniform?
Are you happy with the brakes? You can just see it climbing. Are you still happy?
Yeah, we're still happy for Steve 101 uniform.
Roger.
Heathrow director, 56, requesting pushback and start clear.
Couple 56, your push and start approved.
Push and start approved. Couple 56.
Dan een Heathrow, Zurich. No.
Virgin 449, request taxi.
Virgin 449, taxi straight ahead through hotel, then second right Alpha. hold
Sorry, I'm just
at
munching on a
Alpha
biscuit, but
3.
yes, we might have. There might be some
And taxi
airline
straight
food flying
ahead
around
to
after
hotel,
that pushback.
right
We
on
shall
Alpha,
see.
Hold Alpha 3, Virgin 449.
So yes, you can use the
Stupid 42
flight
Delta Bravo,
controls to
turn
control it,
right, heading
which is
240
great. So you can sit
degrees.
here and I can just use the
Establish
stick.
data line at T7 left.
It's not turning me.
240 degrees, establish.
I guess the rudder. Yes, so look, I can do it like that.
40 Delta Bravo.
Stupid 491
A little bit
uniform,
abrupt,
runway
but very
27 left,
practical.
the wind 220 degrees at 11
So we're going
knots,
this
clear to
way.
Please tell us flight plan, Steve 101 uniform, please.
This stream is brought to you by Costa's Hazelnut Hot Chocolate, the best beverage for an Airbus pilot. There you go. So we need to leave Hanley, which is over there. I don't think it's labelled.
Swiss 812, type A320, information Lima, requesting IVR equivalence.
So our colleague is going to push back in front of us.
12 Heathrow director, hello. QNH
Check that
1009.
between the screens on the
Clearance
line.
is Zurich, Maxit, 1 Foxtrot departure.
Oh, we can go a bit further back.
075.
Maxit 1, Foxtrot, squawking 1075, QNH 107, I'm a Swiss.
No, not that way, not that way. That always happens eventually.
Is that correct?
I couldn't be a pushback driver. I don't know how they do it. They have to sort of work on 3 different axes. So parking brake is set. Let's get the engines up and running. So starting engine. We're going out to 27, so that's the other end of the airport, isn't it? So let's go for 1 engine for now. Oh, bit of a bug
David
there.
838, taxi.
Let's do it that way.
Taxi Lima, hold Lima 2. I'll call you back.
So they're going. Tug can disconnect.
88 taxi Lima and holding Lima 2, thank you, 88.
Waiting for tug pin. Off they go. I like that map. That's surprisingly useful, being able to see that there. You could do this all from the flight deck. Nice straight airplane. Yes. Love the sounds on this airplane. James is trying to keep up on that's him. There you go. Excellent. Yeah, drawing the pushback is good, other than the cover rubber duck. It is good. I do fancy GSX Pro, but I haven't managed to install it properly yet. So the tug is gone, I guess. There it goes, yeah. So just to be clear, this little 900, this is a bug. That shouldn't be there. It wouldn't show you the deviation at this stage. Right, that's available. Back to norm. We are going to turn off the APU bleed, but leave the APU running. We're going to turn on the yellow hydraulic pump to power the second system. We're going to arm the ground spoilers, recenter the trim, flaps to 1, and set our trim at, it was a forward CG, wasn't it? Gross weight 24. Okay.
Delta, join Bravo, stand 537.
There we go. Right.
Stupid 42 Delta Bravo, runway 27 left.
Back to the checklist then.
0 degrees at 11 knots, clear to land.
After checklist, anti-ice off, ECAM status. So we've got no status message, so that is checked. Pitch trim, we've set 24.4. Rudder trim to neutral. That's complete.
Heathrow director,
That's during taxi, right.
Double 56, taxi Golf, right, Echo, right, Alpha.
Aviation says, what's the standard 2 engine start procedure? 2 then 1 or 1 then 2? I know for single engine it's always 1 that started. Correct, Aviation. It's 2 then 1 normally.
Taxi, Golf, right, Echo.
Engine 1's first if you're doing single engine.
Alpha 4, Cobalt 56.
Speedbird 315, request taxi.
Speedbird 315, taxi right through Hanley, left link 53, left Alpha, hold Alpha 6.
Right through Hanley, left on link 53, left on Alpha, hold Alpha 6, Speedbird 315.
Speedbird 838, taxi first right Bravo, hold
That's quite a lot. So there's link 53, so Hanley, link 53, Alpha,
Virgin 449, taxi hold Alpha 3,
Alpha,
ready for
where
departure.
Alpha 6,
And taxi on Alpha 3, report ready for departure, Virgin 449.
which is there. Okay, so we're here, we're going to go down, along, up, up. That's all Alpha by the looks of it, so that will work nicely. Alpha 6, good.
Alpha,
Clear on the left, clear on the right, we've beat our colleagues, always important. Taxi light, runway turn off, brakes released, let's get going. Love the light effects, just great.
Speedbird 35, actually 35 Mike, change of plan, taxi hold Alpha 3.
Plug Duck says, does the engine have the same performance if one of the 2 fuel pumps were in op? Yes, absolutely. The fuel pumps are just to provide positive pressure on the fuel at all times. It will happily fly with all the fuel pumps off. They will just get gravity fed. Now, I say happily, there are limitations to that. You can run into trouble at high altitudes or in negative G, but that's a limited situation. Right, we better go inside so we don't see these stairs.
And clear for takeoff.
Why isn't my terrain? I've definitely had the terrain radar working recently. So left on link 53. Neos move themselves on a plane. CO needs more thrust is what I noticed. Yeah, I would say for the real aircrafts, limited difference. Brake check, pressure is 0. Well, QNH1010, I'm just going to press B in the simulator and use that. Left now, thanks Vidius. There's our colleague following us. Sadly, everyone's in an Airbus except our colleagues. You can hear that. That high-pitched whine is the yellow electric pump. That's great. Oh, Garrison's already answering someone else. There we go, sorry. 1010, speed with 315, thanks. There's Alpha, going left on Alpha. Something I love when you're taxiing with the sun behind you. I can't see it from here, but when you can see the flight controls move, look at that, just like on the real aircraft. Aileron's obviously quite small, but yeah, I quite enjoy that. Seeing this, you know, we sit on a flight deck and we just see these screens, and it's easy to sort of lose track of the airplane behind you. I say lose track, just you forget it's there and it's that big. But when you get that shadow and you can see it, especially fun when you're landing, it's cool effects, no doubt. Anna there says, thank you very much for your videos. I've learned a lot out of them. I still have a lot to learn on the A320 NEO. Excellent. I'm glad you've enjoyed them. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for saying so. Right, up on Alpha. Now, we can't do flight control checks until we have both engines running. That is just a fact, so we shall wait. It's just so you can ensure that all the right electrics and hydraulics are supplying the aircraft and that they will therefore work. Isaac153 has super chat at €20. Thanks so much. That's incredibly generous. Thank you, Isaac. Isaac says, thank you a lot. I learned how to fly the A320 and configure the systems right thanks to your videos. I also enjoy the rest of your content and just wanted to give something back for your efforts. Keep up the great work. Isaac, that's very generous of you. Thanks so much. It's always a real treat to hear that people have been enjoying the videos, and yeah, I really appreciate the donation. That's very, very generous, and thank you for kindly supporting the channel. Fantastic. I'm glad it's helped you fly the A320. I hope it's given you many hours of enjoyable simming. Oh, look at that, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, no, that's very kind, and thanks so much for coming along, and thank you for saying so. Really appreciate it.
Passing altitude 1,900.
Yeah, far too kind, far too kind. Oh, let's get it in the right place.
I'm going to maintain flight level 190, Virgin 449.
Negative, flight level
but yes, I do intend to keep it up. More streams coming, more videos coming. I know it's been quiet. It will be quiet for a little while longer, I'm afraid to say, but it will improve as we get into the autumn.
156, it's the second right.
So I'm looking
second
forward to it,
right
and we
onto
can all
Echo.
get a bit more
Then
regular with the
right
streams, maybe get back to looking at new products and aircraft. I've just been focusing a bit on the core content of this channel, which has been the Airbus
156.
and the streams, because that's what I want to make sure we don't lose. But I've had to sort of rein it back in on some of the additional extracurricular stuff. But hopefully we can return some of that, because I do enjoy it a lot. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to take off from that runway over there. So let's get onto this taxiway, start up the engine. Second engine.
Heathrow Director, good evening. Clearance is Munich. Detling 2 Foxtrot departure.
Still another month of busy summer travels. Exactly, Lauren V. Exactly. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for moderating, Lauren and Andy. And thank you again to Isaac for the very kind donation. So, Alpha, all the way along. These links all here is a confusing way of naming things. I can see Alpha over there. So, that's good. Ah! I can actually hear the yellow pump tone change as I use the nose wheel steering. Is that actually something they've modelled? Now the funny thing is, you can, if you're in an airplane with yellow nose wheel steering, you can actually hear the yellow system make a slight. It makes a slight whine as you turn. It's not the same as that. That's the yellow pump whining. Our colleague getting really close behind me. We're too slow. But how funny! That's amazing. Love these details. Right, let's get that engine going. So to do that, we're going to have the AP bleed on. We're going to put this to ignition. We don't need the yellow pump anymore. Let's start up engine 2. Because we've got pressure, so we can. See some bugs here on the PSI, the oil temperatures and pressures, but that's fine.
27 right.
Thank you again, Isaac. Very kind.
Alpha Yankee 3 is.
Like I said, difficulty for centerline and aircraft during rolling and landing. Try turning down your sensitivity a little bit on the controls, but if the controls feel okay and you're just struggling in general, which some people do, the trick is look down here. Don't look here, you'll never manage. You've got to look right down there. Now I've got no trouble holding up our colleague because we have to start our engine, so they're going to have to wait. Look at the grounds. That's just looking fantastic today, the sim. Look at that. It's been out for a while, but it's still a treat. Some big new updates coming to it soon, aren't there, as well? You do not need to use rudder trim when taxiing single engine. No.
Yeah, Vision 449, sorry, that's just ignore that text.
Right. Available. Back to norm. Don't need the AP bleed, don't need the APU, don't need the yellow pump. Aircraft's in good shape. Great. Let's run the flight controls. So, let's fill up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral. We'll say we've done the rudder check because I don't have the Toliss set up. Alpha 11, we're going down to 6. So we've got a bit further to go, and now we've got the second engine. It is starting to run away. Mini brief, we're going from runway 27 right over there, just on our left from Alpha 6, taking off, making a left turn, climbing to 6,000 feet. We're going to do a flap 1 takeoff. Oh, I need to, oh yeah, so that's all good. And we've got flex of 69. We are overweight. We are above max landing weight. Great. I don't think there's any Airbuses over 66 tons, are there? Maybe there are. I don't think 320s, not many anyway, certainly not normal 320s. Good, so auto brake can go to max. That's not going to work with my hardware. I'm having trouble with the hardware. And the A320NX, I must confess. Where's this? Well, that's facing the wrong way, so I doubt that's us. It's engaged the auto brake. Go on, airplane.
Climb level 180, thank you.
Sorry to our colleague behind. Yeah, TCAS to TRA. Auto brake is max. Weather radar. It says they've removed the in-op sticker from the radar, so is that running as well? Oh dear, this is not as good as when I had that ground taxiing enhancement installed. There is a funny thing with airplanes, which is you can accidentally brake check someone, but they shouldn't know it. No one should be taxiing close enough behind you where it's an issue. But yeah, you don't know what the plane in front is going to do. The technique in the Airbus, those of you who've been watching a while will remember that you have to just tell the camera crew. There we go. As you're rolling along, you have to let it will gently accelerate to sort of 30 knots, and then you use the brakes and slow it down. Oh, and everything's fine. Yeah, and then you slow it down to a sort of low. Why is it stopping? I don't know if this is related to the brakes engaging. Yeah, there's a bit of a confusion here with the hardware. So sorry to the person behind. This would be annoying to follow someone actually stopping. And let's make sure we get to the right taxiway. I was hoping we'd appear on this chart. Alpha 6 is sort of a high speed to the left. It could be here. No, this...
You just keep the speed up for me. You got to set your aircraft on it.
Apologies, people 305. What is going on? Well, it's obviously... Oh, there we go. It's just holding the foot brakes. You have to work quite hard to get in trouble with air traffic control for your taxi speeds. But you will get some comments. The classic one, what they normally say is because they don't want to say something like that, because you might have a problem, right? We might have stopped for some reason. So often controllers, if they're trying to be a little bit, I don't want to say passive aggressive, but also that's sort of what I mean. They might say, "Have you got a problem?" Because then they're giving you a chance to explain yourself first before they tell you off for getting in the way. Right, well, we are ready to go. That's Alpha 8. We're trying to get down to 6. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with those brakes. We don't want that to happen on takeoff. So let's see if we can... 7, so we're the next left. Should be up there. Predicted wind shear, I thought I turned on... No, I didn't. There we go. Auto. There we go. Not part of the takeoff config, but it does appear as a memo. Doesn't seem like the brakes are going to be an issue. We can leave that blue. Some items, for example, in the MEL, the auto brake could be broken, so you could still dispatch. Hence, the ECAM will actually let you go. It will show up as blue. But yeah, so Alpha 6, where we're going. Bit of a hill, my goodness. And I need to run the before takeoff checklist, or taxi checklist, they've called it here.
38 Heathrow Director, just to let you know, I'm having a bit of an issue with my sim here. I'm going to try and do my best to sort it out, but if not, I'll just disconnect.
Okay, so we got flight controls checked.
315 from Alpha 6, runway 27 right, then wind 220 degrees at 11 knots, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, 27 right, speed but 315, thank you. Okay, cleared to go. Everyone remembers that's the cleared button. Put that on performance. Flight controls are checked. Flaps, we've got config, 1 plus F green and 1 blue. Radar predicted wind shear on auto. Engine mode select norm. ECAM memo takeoff. We have 1 blue line, but we are deciding that's broken right now, which is acceptable. So there we go. Next is a lineup. Takeoff runway, 27 right. TCAS TARA. Packs are both on. That's complete. Next is the approach. Right, let's go before we get trouble. So brakes released. I heard someone else get a lineup clearance. We're finally going. If you use the brakes while mouse panning, it will keep the brakes in. Ah, maybe that was what happened then. Interesting. Yeah, thank you. Oh, get out of the way of our colleague. Now we should have all our lights on. That's where you get the other pilot to do it. Okay, there's plenty of time. That's why, you know, it can sound stressful, but if you let yourself get rushed, and then there's actually no time pressure here at all. That's a real hill, though. My goodness. Okay, we wouldn't normally go 50. 40 is the maximum, but we are well out the way of any ground vehicles in the apron here, and we're going to need that to get out that. There's no hill like that on a taxiway. That's like off-roading. Anyway, we are clear for takeoff. Is everyone ready? Captain Wazza says, Costa Coffee, other coffee shops are available indeed. Good stuff. Right, let me turn on the head tracking. Oh. This controller must be getting frustrated with us by now. Right, I'm going to just lower the mic. Let's go. Beautiful evening departure. Takeoff. We'll do a rolling takeoff. Half side stick down, 50% on the M1s. Two clicks. Man Flex 69, SRS runway. Order thrust is armed and blue.
Careful 56, fire Alpha 3, line up and wait.
All looking good.
Right. There is an intersection departure ahead of you.
Sorry to that controller for our taxiing there.
Yeah, Alpha 3.
80 to 100, side stick to neutral. I should have used the head tracking for the taxi, that would have been better.
But there is a departure further down the runway.
V1, rotate. A bit fast, there we go. Positive climb, gear up.
Excuse me, Stupid 838, no further ATC, you've got 122 decimal 8, bye-bye.
A little bit low pitch there. And away we go.
Golf November Bravo, runway 27 right, the wind 220 degrees and 11 knots, clear to take off.
Clear to take off 27 right, Golf November Bravo.
See the smudges on the windscreen. Right. Big U-turn. There's the motorway. Lauren B likes that sound. It is a good sound. The audio on this airplane has always been some of the best out there, full stop, and it continues to be. Round we go.
Okay, Bob.
Oh, we didn't hear that. We're not transmitting back to that.
Stupid 315, report your passenger altitude.
I was in 1,500 feet, speedbird 315.
Stupid 315, thank you, climb down, flight level 180.
Thank you, climb down flight level 180, speedbird 315.
Okay, well, 56, just confirm the line up and wait now, 27 right.
Right, 180, I'm just going to write that down. Let's do that. Let's put in 180, and I'm going to assume there is something I have not entered. It's not happy with the accelerator. Oh, there it is, finally. Yeah, it did have a 2,200 in it, so leave us back a stage to climb. We're going all the way up to 1.8, so I can pull that now. We had this discussion with our previous controller. Oh, in the previous stream. First climb, open climb. Got 18,000, let's set standards. And standards. Open climb, outlook 180. Top of descent reached. Now, how funny. I haven't seen that. That was a real bug in the Airbus a while back. I'm not sure we still see it. To do with the order in which you load up the FMGCs. I wonder if that's simulated or whether that's just an actual coincidental bug that happens to be very similar to ones you get on the real aircraft. But the SP then flaps to 0. I love this head tracking. It's just great. How's it for you guys to watch? I had good feedback last time, but I'm always open to feedback. I am looking forward to Explain 12 TKM. Are the hydraulics a bit noisy on the 320NX? Yeah, I mean, I would have...
315, redirect Coxie, Kilo, Oscar, Kilo.
Direct to Kilo, Oscar, Kilo, speed with 315. There's another TD reach. Something to do with this VNAV. It's clearly confused. I'm not sure if that's something I did. I don't think that I did anything too problematic for it. Oh, there it is. Kilo Oscar Kilo nav. There we go, we got clear of the message. It's woken up a bit where it should be. You shouldn't have that VDEV donut because we're in the climb, obviously. So the tracking works well. Nowhere near as twitchy as I'd have expected as Captain was. No, exactly. I've smoothed it out a little bit with my settings. Uh oh. Ooh. I thought that was going to... Look at the smudges on the screens. Wow. Now, I'd be pretty annoyed if I sat on the flight deck with that many. I'd have to clean them. The best... There is... Usually, most airlines now provide some sort of screen cleaning wipes because they just don't want you to accidentally try and use water or something wrong. But if you get like a smudge on the windscreen, by far the best thing to do is use a dry tissue if it's someone's like greasy hands or hand gel or something like that, hair gel or something like that. That must be London loading in, indeed. Yeah, that was close. That was close. That was hard to taxi gravity. Yeah. No, we're not at the top of the descent. We've got a bit further to fly, I'm afraid. Lovely. Ah, there's the terrain, so it pops in once you're in the air. Maybe it just didn't think there was any terrain where we were. Right, these are rockets, these Neos. Is there a cabin? No, no cabin. Just about to see the engine. If I lean, that's what I do when I'm on an airplane. I push my head against the glass to see as much as I can. Need to see everything going on out there when I'm a passenger. Ah, you can see our rudder. That's cool. Love the sunset flights or sunrise flights. Probably sunrise more. I think that's my favourite. Although I must say I've seen some amazing views recently over the skies of Europe. Wow! One night recently I managed to see the whole. You could just look out the window, just had to dim the lights a little bit, and you could see the whole Milky Way. You just went like this, and it went right over us. Incredible, breathtaking. It's when you get a cloud layer that blocks out all the cities that you get to see that sort of thing. You didn't need to do anything special or let your eyes adjust. You could just see the Milky Way. Beautiful, beautiful. Quite rare for us in Europe because we're mostly looking at light pollution. It's a very populated area. Anyway, I haven't done half the stuff I should have done. The flaps came to 0, and then we should have disarmed the ground spoilers. I've been too busy nattering. Lights off. None of these things would have been safety critical though. That's my excuse. Seatbelts off, it's nice and smooth. Oof, really testing the head tracking here. I've got a microphone in front of my face and I'm trying to move individual switches like that. Good, we're above 100. I'm going to go to airport. The airplane has accelerated to 290. Systems are looking relatively reasonable. Top percent has not been reached. Secondary we would copy over and the radnav should already be clear. Fantastic. Right, let's get rid of the head tracking. And off we go. It's pretty gloomy in the flight deck. I don't know if that's going to help. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Richard says, for track IR you can put your head out the window. Not sure if Toby will let you. I wonder, let's try it out. That's going to be done.
Heathrow Director, very good evening. Speedbird 9, Lima 787-9 on stand 554 with Mike.
I don't think you can, or I'm not managing. I don't think I can get that far away.
2315, Unicom 122.8, bye-bye.
122.8, people 315. Thanks for your help, mate.
Right, Delta number rolling, Unicom 122.8, bye-bye.
Why is my radio panel not working? That is a curious one. Right, so that's under comms. How do I set Unicom? There we go. Done. This is really neat. I like this. It's very good for streaming. Channel says, first time flying the fly-by-wire in months. I flew it for a video recently, but yes, we haven't streamed it for a little while. And I suppose it is months now, which is... It wasn't my intention. We just haven't streamed as much as I hoped. We had the Phoenix to fly, and we will, of course, be back in the Phoenix soon enough. But yes, it's been a little while. It's come a long way. Still, this is experimental, so I'm expecting things to be as maybe bugged. But look at that, TCAS showing up nicely as well. Speed up star. Anyway, we're going up to 370. We're on Unicom. Off we go. Thrust climb, open climb. 170. We need an exterior shot, so cover your ears. Love it, love it, love it, as ever. There's our... Oh, so it's got to level off. It reckons we're going to level off just so we get to the coast. Let's see if that comes true. I think we could be a bit quicker than that, but it will run out of puff as we get higher. Maximum flight level 390. We're going for 37. Optimum 39. 37 will be fine. I wouldn't want to go up to the actual maximum like that. Full Prawn says, I really like the star fields in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't know if they do Aurora. No, I haven't seen the Aurora Borealis in Microsoft, but I've actually only seen it very rarely in real life. It is not a common thing to see by any means over Europe. I think long-haul pilots probably see it quite regularly. Grand P says, I have a hard time to maintain centerline after touchdown and crosswind landings. How do you use the side stick and how to know how much pressure I need? If you're after landing, so if you've managed to land, the trick is make sure you've removed the drift. Do I have a video on crosswind landings? I feel like I do. So you need to remove the drift in the flare, land like normal, but the trick is you'll have used rudder to remove the drift and point the nose of the airplane down the runway during the flare. It's something you do just before touchdown, after you've entered the flare. So below 30 feet, you'll squeeze the rudder on to point the nose down the runway, and then you need to touch down quickly, otherwise obviously you'll start to drift sideways, but that should all work out if you time it right. The thing is, once you've landed with the main wheels, you'll need to hold that rudder, and it might be up to full rudder if you're doing maximum crosswinds. So you're going to have to hold that rudder in whilst you settle onto the runway, and you might need it all the way down or for the whole deceleration until you're really slow. So a good piece of advice is to use a higher auto brake level, medium auto brake in strong crosswinds, because it helps you to get the air off the controls quicker. The downside of medium auto brake is, of course, that it will actually drag you. It can drag you backwards a little bit, but it's not too bad. Reverse thrust can also make it harder. If you're using maximum reverse and max crosswinds, you might find the max reverse is actually dragging you sideways a bit if you're not aligned with the runway properly. But that's sort of advanced stuff, I suppose. But yeah, put in the rudder and hold it there as you touch down. If you're using the Phoenix, there is a slight issue with the Phoenix with the nose wheel in the air and the main wheels on the ground. That means the rudder's not effective enough. So that could be, if you're using the Phoenix, that might explain it. John Padford, thanks so much for your $4.98 tip. Really appreciate it. John says, I'm really tempted with the track IR. Loving the stream. Thanks so much, John. Really appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying it. Thank you for that very kind donation. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel so much, as you have over all the months and years now, I suppose. But yeah, great to see you here. Yeah, so the Tobii eye tracker, that's what I'm using. And I've got to say, I've never had track IR. I have used track IR, but I think this is a really nice eye tracker or head tracker. Apologies for that. There we go. Messing with the audio. Igloo, sorry, I'm way behind on the chat. Let me just see where I was. So the Chaos is saying I should mess with the sound sliders. So we'll do that in the cruise. Please remind me in the cruise to sort out the sound. Richard Astley hasn't seen the Aurora on an ice trip. Oh, that's unlucky. Hopefully you do one day. VT Jake says, I've already ever noticed a difference in the remix between open climb and managed climb. Why is that? Because in managed climb, if there's no restrictions, which often in the climb above flight 100, there's rarely restrictions on the plan, they're the same thing. So if I did it now, there's no restrictions, there's just waypoints. So if I push managed, all it's going to do is go to thrust climb and try and climb as quickly as possible at the speed we've set. So just climb at that target speed. So if you do open climb and you're in managed speed, then it's exactly the same thing. The only difference is in open climb, I can now pull the speed and get the airplane to nose up a little more. Yeah, it has run out of puff. Maybe that tailwind. I think that wind vector is a little bit small. I think it should be just a little bit longer. If that's the sort of detail we're looking at, then that's great, isn't it? So yeah, so that's the difference. And then in managed, you could manage the speed and put the nose down. But yeah, very similar things. Ah, there. So our colleague made it behind us. Speedboat 315 climbing flight level 370. Yes, you don't need to use the side stick after touchdown. Mostly, it is mostly rudder, exactly. You might need to use it during the touchdown just to keep the wings level, though. That's the trick, just keep the wings level. Right, Igloo says, oh, that was ugly. Night, 27 knot crosswind. First time landing the 350, had to go around twice, final landing was rough. Oh, well. If it's the first time in the 350 in a crosswind at night, that's tough situations. Checkpoint says, I went to Finland to see the Aurora, just to see nothing in the week. Oh, there we go. Oh, God, he's going to join us. The problem I've done here, by the way, by moving the speed back, it's great. You think, oh, yeah, look at this. We're climbing really fast. And if air traffic tells you they need you to expedite your climb through flight level 320 or something, you can do this for a short while. But what's going to happen is you've traded your speed for climb performance, and eventually you're going to come unstuck because now we're quite low energy. So let's say they asked us to climb as fast as we could through flight level 320. Now we're back at decimal 70, 250 knots-ish at 32,000. You manage the speed. It's got accelerated there, and it can be a slow and painful process while it does that. Chickpoint says, I went to Finland to see the Aurora just to see nothing in the week I was there, and then when I left they had the most beautiful ones. It's classic, Chickpoint. That's the same as me. If I ever go looking for wildlife, that's what happens. I won't see anything, or it'll be the wrong time of year, or the wrong time of day, or the wrong weather. Graham says, hi Cap, do you like to fly NEO or CEO better, or do you have no preference either way? I don't have a huge preference. You know, if you want, I don't have super strong feelings on it. Of course, flying a NEO is nice because it's a newer aeroplane, so they tend to be a bit cleaner. They're also quieter. But if you have a good headset, that won't matter too much. But the NEOs are definitely quieter on board. They also have the nicer equipment, so the NEOs will have all the nice new weather radar and so on, so that can be handy. However, in a strong crosswindy situation, I like the CEOs, primarily because that's what I'm used to. I like the way they fly. They have more ground speed mini, and I'm used to the engine reactions to the winds, and I'm used to the way it flares and handles the crosswind, so and handles the bumps on approach. It's like changing car and then driving on a sort of a challenging situation. You know, you'd rather be in the car you know how it behaves. And that's not to say I don't know how the NEO behaves. Of course we do, but it's just I'm very much more used to the CEO, whereas the NEO is just a little bit different. But as time goes on, it will become probably the case that you'll get more used to the NEO and prefer those. James had to come off. Phoenix was not behaving at all. That's a shame. I wonder why. Isaac says the fly-by-wire development has gotten a little slower because the developers are getting back to working normal, I think. But for that, it's free. It's an astonishing product. Absolutely. Absolutely. No complaints here. There we go. Look at that. We're just barely climbing 500 feet per minute. Now we've reached our target speed. It's getting the nose up again. Pretty good. Is Cat FO or on mouse patrol this evening? The cat is on mouse patrol, or probably snooze patrol. They're already in the bunk having a nice sleep. Having not done anything so far. Stathis says, hi Captain, can you make a reference tutorial on reference fixes? I think I've done a fix info tutorial before. I think I did when they added it to this sim, I think. So if you Google fix info, or YouTube fix info, you might find my channel, if that's what you're referring to. They're working on an A380, so they're prioritising that as aviation. Are they prioritising the A380? I am excited to see that. That is going to be great fun. Perugia says, as a Finn, I've maybe seen Auroras 15 times in the last 35 or so years. So not so many. Of course, I miss them often, even when they've been around. Then again, I don't live up north where you have more luck with them and less light pollution. There you go. Richard says, Toby needs work still. It's great not having to use a head clip, though. Yeah, that's what I like about it. Yeah. The only downside is, though, that my mouth gets covered by the microphone, so for streaming, I block the sensor with the microphone a little bit. But it seems to work out. Wild One Ball says, crosswind landing tutorial. Is that what you'd like? Oh, no, there it is. Thank you so much, Wild One Ball. Yeah, I thought I had one. I'm on the normal sim. I'm on sim update 9, I think, Isaac. Oh yeah, I haven't had the chance to adjust and fiddle with the simulator as I normally like to. James has fixed it with a bit of Airbus aerobatics. Very good. Alien says, what does TAT, SAT and ISA stand for in the ECAM, and what is the range that temperatures must be in order to turn on the engine anti-ice? Okay, great question. ISA is International Standard Atmosphere, so this is saying your reference towards it. So at 0 degrees, this means that the difference between the current temperature outside the airplane is the same as what normal standard temperature is. So international standard temperature is 15 degrees on the ground, and then it drops about 2 degrees for every 1,000 feet you go up until you reach the tropopause at about 36,000 feet, I think, in the standard atmosphere, at which point the temperature stops reducing. That's called the tropopause. The temperature stops reducing, and it actually just stays at a certain temperature for quite a way up. So if this is a plus number, it's telling you that it's hotter outside than normal, and therefore your performance will likely be worse, or it will be worse. If it's a minus temperature, it's colder outside, and your performance may be better. If it's much colder, you could run into fuel temperature problems, or you could actually get outside the aircraft's operating envelope. If it's too cold, you sometimes hear aircraft having to descend again because it's outside the operating environment. Now, it's not like the airplane's going to immediately fall out the sky if it goes outside the temperature environment, but it's just something to be aware of. It's not designed to operate outside it too far. Silverstrike, thanks so much for $20 tip. Very kind. Silverstrike says, greetings from California. Loved watching you fly Los Angeles to San Francisco and hope you'll make it down here to San Diego sometime. KSAN has a great localized approach that goes right by all the buildings downtown. I absolutely agree. That is, San Diego is on there. I think we were heading north from, we went to San Francisco, so then we need to go, I think we're going up to Seattle or something like that. I was going to take a Boeing to do that, and then we'll head down to San Diego. Yeah, why not? Yeah, get a bit more of America done, get the West Coast ticked off. So Silver Strike, thanks so much. That's incredibly generous. Thank you for your $20 tip. Really appreciate it, and I hope all is well in California. It's great to be, it's so great to be chatting to people in America who we've been so watching the American aviation industry return in such force. It's great to see. So it was always a source of hope that it would happen here, and it has eventually, which is just great. So anyway. Hope you're doing well in California, and thanks so much for a very, very kind tip. Really appreciate it. Yeah, San Diego, that localized approach via, I think that's by the car park, isn't it, famously? There's a multi-story car park you go very close to. Hopefully this message will clear when we get to the actual top of climb, because it is in the climb phase, so yeah, that really shouldn't be there. Right, so, yeah, so depending on how high you are, there is a chart we use which tells us if our static temperature is correct or not, or if it's too cold. So SAT, static air temperature, that is the temperature outside the aeroplane. But we're going through the air very fast. The air is hitting the front of the airplane at 65 knots, so 300 miles an hour. So as it does that, it gets squeezed, which heats it up. So the actual temperature at the front of the airplane, called the total air temperature, is -28. It's 30 degrees warmer than the static air temperature. So, when do we use engine anti-ice? We're going to use engine anti-ice if there's visible moisture and the static air temperature is below +10 degrees. Because even if it's above that, even if it's above 0, it can still freeze depending on the conditions. So, static air temperature of +10 or below Mach out star. The exception is, if you're in the climb or the cruise, and it goes below -40 static. Right, I've got that muddled up. Ignore me. Temperature below +10 degrees Celsius on the total air temperature. Total air temperature, very important. Total air temperature below +10. Then you use the engine anti-ice. If you're in visible moisture and it's below +10 on the total air temperature. That's the temperature on the front of the airplane, so that's the one that matters. So +10 or below with visible moisture. If you're in the climb or cruise and the static air temperature goes below -40, you no longer have to use it. So if we went into cloud now, we don't have to use engine anti-ice. That saves us a lot of fuel because it's very thirsty using engine anti-ice for the whole cruise. But also it's because it's just considered too cold, so they're just crystals. They're just bouncing off the airplane. They're unlikely to form any ice on the leading edges at -40 or below. Now, that does not apply in the descent. So if I was to start a descent and I was in visible moisture, even if it's -55, we have to put the engine anti-ice on. Right, I couldn't have made that said that worse, I'm sure. And thank you again, Silver Stripe, for that very kind $20 tip. Really appreciate it. Right, jumping outside. Cover your ears, everyone. Big fan of this livery. Here we go. It's Blueberry. Oh, thanks. Sorry, Blueberry. I'm sorry I missed your message. The Chaos says, in certain approach, it might clear the issue. Let's try that out. Yeah, sorry. It's Blueberry King, one of the developers, I believe. Blueberry King, here we go, in Twitch, says, sorry, not sure if you saw the earlier message, but would you mind trying to insert an arrival approach? I've seen that sometimes make the erroneous top of descent message go away. Right, let's give it a go. So, I do have a flight plan. Now I know the approach I want to do because it's pretty cool. We're going to do the RNS Zulu 01 and we're coming in via Lacox. Oh, probably wanted the via. There we go. That message is gone. Absolutely right. Thanks very much for that tip. Yeah. So sorry I missed your first message, but there you go. So if you get that bug on your A320NX, that's the way around it. Make sure you put the approach in. The real aircraft wouldn't do that, but again, so much work's gone into the VNAV and so on. I'm not surprised that small little things like that. But like I say, there is a genuine bug in the real aircraft where you could get to acceleration on takeoff. It was to do with the order in which you inserted V2, I think, or some of the performance numbers. I think if you did it, if you entered, nobody quote me on this, but I think it was something to do with if you entered the FMGC information, the performance page, before the IRSs were aligned, it could then mean that when you got to acceleration altitude, it would say decelerate. It wouldn't say top of descent, it would say decelerate, which would be the same message but on the older aircraft. It didn't really do anything. You didn't have to fix it, as it were. It would clear, you could just clear it away. But yeah, it was a bug that it had. Coda says, is there any news on the update for the Phoenix? It's been 2 months since they mentioned about an update and nothing. And no, I don't. I'm sure they're working hard, but no, I don't have any news, I'm afraid. I've been very much out the loop on most things for the last few months. Right, so there, and there's a much better description of the temperatures for Christy. Thank you so much. Do you think you'd ever move to another aircraft? I hope so. I don't want to fly one airplane for my whole career. I would like to fly a different one, but I do love the Airbus a lot. Regardless. Flying for Fun TB. Hello, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. So is it true? So there we go. So the question has come up: are the fly-by-wire team working more on the 380 than the 320? And Blueberry King says they wouldn't say that necessarily. No. So there you go. That's the answer. Blueberry King is one of the devs. So thank you so much for coming along and joining us and all the hard work. It's just great to see. This is just a fantastic freeware aircraft. Garrickson says it only shows ISA if Captain Barrett is set to standard 2. Exactly. You're absolutely correct. Simply Tom, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Igloo Food would like to see fly-by-wire update stable. If nothing else, so we can get a headwind update. What's a headwind update? I'm so lost. Lauren V would like to. Portland is also a good shout for a northbound flight. I'd leave San Francisco on a Virgin America A320 though. Love the old Redwood call sign. No, there you go. Redwood, that's a good call sign, yeah. Right. Oh, headwind is the headwind A330. I see. Yeah, I haven't used that ever actually. Stathis says, I watch you from Cyprus. You're the man, Captain. Thanks so much, Stathis. Really appreciate it. I hope all is well in Cyprus. Lovely weather, I'm sure. Although I can't complain. The UK has had a very nice summer, if a little bit short of water. But we know secretly a lot of us are happy with that. Christopher likes delivery. James says, took everyone's inspiration last time after my trial lesson got cancelled last week and brought the PPL starter back. Hopefully better weather luck on me. Good luck. Hopefully. Fingers crossed for you, James. Piano Learner says, hi all, I'm late. We'll have to rewatch this again. What does everyone think about electric planes? Ah, that's a good question.
Visit of count, using 660 Iris for guten Abend, information Lima request up.
Seth says, can you make an approach where you follow a VOR into Paphos? Paphos is quite an interesting one, yes. That's something to consider for the future, no doubt. Thank you. James can see us off the left wing, had to do direct to PITAS to get it to work. Ah, okay, let's have a look. This James going to be on our TCAS. By the way, oh yes, there you go. I've been nattering away. I get too chatty when we stream for the first time in a while. So, TCAS to below. Run a systems check. Ah, it goes through correctly. Lovely. Yep, hydraulics lower in the green system. Spot on. No temperatures yet. Now, I wouldn't need 30 degrees to keep the cabin at 24, but yeah, these would sit somewhere. A common configuration with the sun behind you is like this. If the sun's in your face, you often end up having to turn the cockpit down even colder. But it's behind us, so that's fine. Doors, arms, wheels, flight controls. Good. Brilliant. Terrain. Oh, by the way, terrain. This is something I need to do a video on now. We have it available so much in Phoenix and this. And obviously it's in things like the Toliss already, so it's just I've not really discussed it much. But this is showing us the lowest and the highest displayed terrain levels on the display. So the black areas are just sort of below, but they're not displayed. The lowest terrain is shown at 1,000 feet, so these patches here are 1,000, and the highest 2,300. So these peaks up here are 2,300. So that's a good sign of where the terrain is around you. For example, when you cross the Alps, as we shall do soon. Lorenzo says, hi, how are the cabin windows heated and why are they a bit freezing when you touch them while in flight? So in flight, you're not touching the cabin windows, you're touching a sort of a plate installed in front of the window. The windows in the cabin are not heated. They are not heated. They are small, they're strong, they don't need to be flexible because they won't take any direct impacts. Birds won't hit them at 250 or 300 knots, whereas the front windows are heated A, to keep them from misting up and to make sure no ice forms on them, because obviously visibility very important, but also to keep them flexible. You'd be surprised how hot these windows are, by the way. It's, as we've discussed about temperatures, it's minus 55 outside. So the leading edge of the airplane is at minus 28. So you'd expect these windows, they're sitting there in minus 28 temperature, with if you take into account the air being squeezed against them. Pretty cold, but you can touch them and they are warm, really warm. Even if you cruise for hours, the electrical heating in them is immensely powerful. I'm very impressed, and that way they stay flexible and warm. Now the Dash 8 has less windows, only has 4 windows. This one's heated, this one's heated, this one's heated on the Dash 8, but that one in the Dash 8 is not. Whereas on the Airbus they are all heated. This is a luxury airplane. But yeah, the cabin ones are not heated. They do not need to be. So if they freeze up a little bit, they mist up, and nothing can hit them directly, then they're not needed, because they don't sit across the airflow, as it were. Good question though, Lorenzo, thank you. Simply Tom says, how did you find multi-engine piston, multi-engine instrument rating training? Just started mine today and it seems like a reasonably steep learning curve. Yes, that is the hard, it's just, or I say hard, that is an intense phase of flight training, Simply Tom. So all the best, enjoy it though. It's very satisfying. It's incredibly satisfying when it all clicks and you're doing your holds. The thing that I did most was, if your flight school has a trainer available, or even if you just want to use, well, getting the practice in, not in the real airplane where you're spending money, but in some sort of training device, is incredibly valuable. I spent a lot of time flying around in a simulator that didn't even have a screen. It just had instruments, but you just tracking the instruments, tracking, flying holds, changing the wind, flying the holds again, reapproaching from a different angle, flying the hold again, all without looking at a map, making sure that you're just building up that mental image of where you are using the needles. And it's an immensely useful skill that you do tend to keep, funnily enough. It's something that I don't use day to day, and yet when I try and do it in the sim, or have had to do it for a few rare occasions, I find it relatively okay. So yeah, it's worth the work. Yeah, but have fun, enjoy it. Cabin is cooking at 24. Yes, you'd probably get complaints from the cabin crew at 24. 21 is much more where they like to be. There you go. John says, if you're looking for information on the Phoenix, there's Discord, and they have a link to a forum post from Amir. So there you go. Thug Duck would like a nutshell explanation for RLS, RNAV, and localizer. I'm not on my instrument rating. I'm afraid I can't do that. I wouldn't manage a nutshell. Let's see if I can. I always over explain things or talk too much, famously. So right, let's go. ILS, instrument landing system, is a precision approach in the sense that you are guided on your approach vertically and laterally by radio signals from the ground, and the airplane follows them down to the runway. It's very precise, and it can let the airplane auto land. RNAV, or a localizer approach, is the same as an RLS, but there's no vertical guidance, so we have to fly the airplane down the descent angle ourselves. In an RNAV, the airplane is using where it thinks it is, and you're then letting it fly that approach by following in its mind, just like this map, the green line to the runway. There is no radio signal from the ground. It's not as precise at the moment, and you can't auto land off it. That's a rubbish explanation. There's so much more to it than that, but yes. Undercover Rubber Duck has super chatted €10. Thank you so much, Undercover Rubber Duck. Very kind. They say, thanks for all the content. Have you ever considered doing video about different tasks of pilot flying and pilot monitoring? Thanks so much, Undercover Rubber Duck, for the €10. Really very kind. Thank you for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. I have considered it. It's tricky because of the SOPs. So when I fly these simulators myself, I'm showing you how we operate the airplane, and I always say giving that extra context. The difference with pilot flying and pilot monitoring roles is that it requires SOPs to be shared between you and somebody else, and I often don't use specific SOPs, as I said. 2 reasons. Everyone uses different SOPs in the real world, all the different airlines, but all the pilots within the airlines use exactly the same set of SOPs. So if I was to use airline SOPs, then I would be using a specific airline SOP. So you could use generic ones, which are out there. So that is one option, but it's hard to film. It's something I haven't had time to really dig further into. I've had a few suggestions made, and I think they would work, but I've sort of not got round to doing them. So I've definitely considered it. It may happen in the future if I can think of a good way to do it that would also be filmable, if that makes sense. It is a good point, because it's definitely the hardest thing when you go from your, as our friend there was going for their multi-engine IR, and you're doing your single pilot difficult instrument rating flying, which is some of the hardest flying you do. You then typically, after that, the next phase is to move into multi-pilot stuff, simulators of airliners and jet aircraft, which is where you really start to learn how to do this job. And it's very hard when you start that to picture when checklists are done and who does them. Once you've done it once, and once you've got through the SOPs a few times, and you sit for the first time in an airline and fly your first airline job, then it becomes obvious, and you could probably mix and match checklists quite easily. But yeah, who answers what, when do you do it, and why is a little bit confusing at first. So it is a good topic, but it's also a very big one. When is Sim Update 10 coming, or is that the question everyone wants to know? Is it on the way? Is it going to include the AnyBuilds A300? The Chaos says, there is a lot of work happening in the background, but as most of the simple systems are mostly done now, only the complex systems remain, so updates are somewhat slower. There you go, there's a good explanation. Yeah. They've nailed so many systems that it is the complicated ones that have to come. A320 NEO is by headwind. Thanks to Crispy. Ruby King says, thanks for the kind words, 320 Sim Pilot. Sorry about the awkwardness with the VNAV. No, not awkward at all. Not awkward at all. Absolutely not. It's like I say, I have seen bugs like that in real aircraft. Alien Raid says, today there was a guy who... Oh, no. I did hear about that news story, but yeah. Right. Lauren V says, PDX is right near downtown Portland too. A nice approach over the river. Very good. Something to consider. Birdman says, have you ever had a takeoff clearance last minute cancellation from ATC? That's very rare. So air traffic control don't typically call you to reject a takeoff. I've heard of it, but I don't think I've had one after starting the takeoff roll. That'd be very bad call from air traffic, because there's no guarantee you're going to hear it or do it, frankly. Armin says, what's that thing sticking out the top of the wing called, and what's it used for? That would be the... are you talking about the shark lid? Or are you talking about that? That is used for attaching the lines during evacuation. Yeah, for life rafts and things. Yeah. Thanks again, Undercover Rubber Duck, for the very kind donation. Harry says, I was on a flight where the PTU barking did not stop until the wheels were up after takeoff. The noise then reappeared upon lowering and landing it on approach. Should this have been cause for concern? It's not cause for concern, Harry. They could have been running on an MEL of some variety. I don't know why that would happen. I can't think why. The PTU wouldn't normally... You don't normally hear the PTU on approach. So I don't know what happened there, Harry. I wouldn't be concerned because, of course, if a hydraulic system had failed on that aircraft during the flight, then so be it. That's what the PTU is for. But yeah, very strange and unusual. Ted Block says, this morning I was on an A321 from Porto to Gatwick. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed your time in Porto, or you enjoy your time in Gatwick if that's where you've gone. Captain, why is there a little hole in the cabin window? Good question. Is it modelled here? Let me just check. Yes, there it is. That's great. That's great. So that, I don't know why. I really couldn't tell you, but I can tell you it's in the scratch plate. It's not in the actual window, so that does not lead to the outside world. That is just there. I think it's to prevent moisture in the two layers, or let airflow, so you get the warm cabin air in there, or maybe it's probably actually to do with pressure changes to make sure that the plate, the scratch plate that's in front of the window doesn't get broken by being sucked in and out, something like that. Oh no! Oh, here it goes. TCAS. The 1 minute we're out the flight deck. Down it goes into the green. And now, this is automatic TCAS, which a lot of aircraft are getting installed. I can tell you that this system isn't just on NEOs now, it's also on older aircraft. And that aircraft has climbed above us. They're climbing, I can see. So it should clear and then revert back to a vertical speed in the direction of the level we left. This is a great system, especially at these high levels, because we don't often maneuver aircraft at these levels. So it's good to have the system available. Especially, imagine if you're in the middle of the night or something. Ah, well, this could be a bit awkward because they are just sitting there 1,000 above us.
Clear of conflict.
There you go, clear of conflict. Automatically, VS 500, outboard 37. It's going to climb again. It is going to give itself a TCAS straight away. Is that our colleague? Let me just check. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a problem. Where's my VATSIM map? I don't know how that's happened. We were doing quite well. TCAS blue armed because of the traffic warning. Think of that. Very good. And that's not something I've seen before, actually. I've not seen all of them. If you've got an out blue armed, then it has to drop it into the line below, which I've never seen. How interesting. I didn't even notice that these lines were different lengths. Yeah. So this is now a three row column, as it were. Right, why can't I find us on the map? Where are we? We are near Luxembourg. Oh, I see. James got getting some screenshots. There we go. So James has climbed up. Excellent. Thank you, James. That looks like that's all good. Where are they? There we go. Slowed down, moving way behind us. Okay, outside. We're back where we are. Manage speed, please, and we'll carry on. I don't want to, just because I don't want to go to an odd level. Sorry, an even level, and then get in trouble with their traffic. We could split levels, but I was here first. This is going to be my excuse. Right. Gaction says, good chance to show us the route offset, unless only Phoenix has it. Oh, yes. Not something I use much on short haul. Offset, no, not available yet. You can tell I never use it, as I had to search for it. How often does TCAS activate in real life, says Yuden Lee? Very rarely. Once every... I've had maybe 2 in years, so very rarely. The actual traffic alerts are quite common, where it goes traffic, and arms the mode. That's not too uncommon. You'll get that maybe... I don't know. Depends how you fly. But once a month, maybe. Hayden J. Robbins, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're doing very well. There you go, A38's dropping away behind. That's all good. That is all good. No harm done. Automatic TCAS saving the day. Igloo says the A300 is November with the 40th anniversary update. Sim Update 10 was supposed to come out in August, but there are a few big bugs in the beta. Okay, interesting. Richard Darsley says, I had this discussion with the Q400 pilot who said he'd categorically not use offset required for transatlantic. Yeah, offset is a feature of transatlantic flying, strategic lateral offset procedure, where you will maneuver your aircraft to be 1 or 2 miles away from the track. The idea is that people's wake won't infect each other, but that is an Atlantic thing. It's not really done in short haul. Stathis would like a tutorial on the radio panel. That's an interesting one as well. I don't think I've done one of those. I'll see what needs to be said. The only thing is, with the radio panel, a lot of it on the Airbus, we don't really use it much except for comms. It's not used for tuning nav aids unless in an emergency. So, not much to say. But still, I'm sure I could talk for 45 minutes quite easily, even like that. Right. No worries, James. No worries at all. Good. John says, I do like the way the Airbus does the whole RA4. Yes, this is a relatively new feature, only in the last couple of years, but it's, as I said, it's now coming to a lot of Airbuses. It's not just the NEOs. I am using experimental version indeed. I did have some questions. Where was I at? I was trying to answer. So A310 is with the anniversary edition. Sim Update 10 is on the way, probably mid-September. Okay. Christopher, I agree. This livery is stunning indeed. Doug Duck says, does the Airbus 321 NEO have the PTU barking noise? It will when it's being used, yeah. John says the fly-by-wire is looking really good. It is indeed. Matic says, use fly-by-wire SOP. A PDF is provided. There you go. Very good. Did we get like a map? I'll give you a route. Overlay thinks we're, probably something similar. Overlay reckons we are arriving at 1847Z. I'm hoping the sun will still be up, but it might not be. That'd be nice. Almost 9 p.m. Well, it does match that. So that's in about an hour. We've got a bit of extra fuel. Oh, no, we don't actually. I think we do. Right, 3.4 is a big amount of fuel to arrive with. We need to arrive with 1.5. So we need to arrive with 2.5 would be final reserves and alternate. So I'd say we've got 900 kilos extra. This reckons 2.1, but we know why, because that's using Rome with 1 ton as the alternate. So, not sure why it's concerned about the alternate fuel. Anyway, we are going to increase the cost of X. Also, that should be a Mach number, not a speed. Why has it done that? We are in Mach. It would be a Mach up here. That should say decimal 77 or 78. So if you're in the climb, it's not uncommon for air traffic controllers. They'll say, what level do you want to climb to? And you'll say 360. And of course, everybody wants to be at 360 and 350 and 370 and so on. So no one wants to be at 320 unless they're in a Beluga. So they'll often ask you what speed are you going to be, so then they can work out so that we don't have situations like we had with our friend there. So what you do is you look at the cruise page and it would say decimal 77 or 78. 123275. There we go. Langen.
The 1400, when it come 122, that's made. Bye bye.
3 rows in the FMA. Don't see that often, says Christy. Indeed. Kate Foster, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're doing well. Langen, good evening. Speedbird 315, flight level 370 to Adisa.
315, Langrad, identified.
Fantastic. Right. Sorry, I've missed a whole load of questions there. So if I have missed it, do feel free to post it again when I catch up with the chat. So November for the A300, I am looking forward to that. Just because it will remind me of the Beluga. And so I really hope they bring the Beluga to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Please, Indiebuilds, please do that. Ah, thanks. The Chaos says, look at the sound settings. So, look at all this. It says an interior lighting preset. I don't know what that means. What are these? That's how far behind I am. Nothing to do on there. Captain Zimrick, thanks for the follow. Audio. So, here we go. Right. What would work? Boarding music, nice. Let's have exterior reduced.
Direct Charlie.
Hold on, I'm just going to turn down your audio and I'm going to play, see if I can tell. Oh yeah, well that definitely makes a difference. So if we do that, and I do that, how is this sounding? Can you hear all right? Yeah, that's a bit more under control. Look at that, you can see that straight through the fans as you would be able to. Brilliant.
Sorry, report requested level.
Requested level 33, over.
That's our colleague getting asked about requested level because he's quite low down, so they're expecting him to go on to climb. Firewalls, thank you so much for a £10 super chat. Really appreciate it. Firewall says, "Hey, great stream. Question: Does the FMGS derived V app need to be headwind component there? For how much?" Firewall, thanks so much for the £10 donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. The FMGS does provide the V app. It does derive it itself. And on a normal day, no, it isn't. On a normal day, you see here, VAP 133. So this is a function of VLS. It's VLS plus 5. We can then add more to it, but we don't routinely check this. On a normal day, we don't check it. Now we can add up to a certain amount of extra speed onto this. If we do that, we need to take it into account on our landing performance. We do calculate landing performance every flight. So this derives the speed. That is what we'll normally fly. Remember, there's ground speed mini. So in strong windy conditions, if there's more of a headwind, we don't need to add it on here. Even if there was a headwind on the ground, we wouldn't add it on here. The Airbus is more than capable of flying down with auto thrust in strong winds, especially if they're sort of headwindy style. So you would just land at 133. That's 5 knots above VLS. That's totally safe. So the only time I would increase this number myself is if there's a strong crosswind, because in the crosswind situation, if you get strong gusts of wind across you, then it will not add any speed to your approach speed, and therefore you'll find that you're could get a bit slow, or you'll get large thrust changes. It's not very comfortable. So I add a little bit. Now I'm going to add a caveat, which is we're in a NEO today. In a NEO, in a strong headwind or windy conditions, I'm more likely to perhaps add a few knots to the VAP, because the ground speed mini is reduced to only a third of what it was on the CEOs, and I really like ground speed mini. I think it works very well. So I would add a few knots. But remember, if you add knots to the VAP, when you enter the flare on a windy day, if you'll have extra energy, add into that a gust of wind or an extra crosswind blast, and you've got extra energy. You'll be floating along the runway and drifting sideways and all sorts. So you don't want to add too much to this speed. It doesn't need it. It doesn't need it. It's very good. It's not like the 737. The Airbus, yeah, it really doesn't need it routinely. That was a long way of saying that, but yeah. So thank you so much for the £10 donation file. We'll really appreciate it, and hopefully that answers your question. But yes, on a normal day without failures, we just use this, and I would say more than 9 times out of 10, that's what I do. If you have an engine, if you have some kind of failure and you have to go and calculate landing performance using a failure, then that's a different case, and we will calculate our V approach separately and take into account all sorts of things when we do that. But that is only for failures. Breadcrumb says, would you recommend the Phoenix A320? That depends what you're looking for. If you want a 320 CEO in Microsoft Flight Simulator, then I absolutely would. I think it's fantastic. Isaac, I really wouldn't know, I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't know. I have to speak to our resident Airbus engineer for info on that. That's still, Isaac's asking, have you ever seen the 320, 350 or Boeings that built in China? I really don't know. I wouldn't know how to tell.
315 report Mach number.
Mach decimal 78, speed by 315.
315, speed decimal, Mach decimal 78 or greater.
78 or greater, speed by 315. Fantastic, fantastic. That's what you want to hear.
Speed Mach decimal 78 or less.
Sometimes when they ask you your speed, there is a temptation to say a higher one, so that if they try and reduce it, they won't reduce it as much, or they might think, oh, you're so fast, you can go first, and they'll put you at the front. By the way, the controllers, of course, can see how fast we're going, but it's very good of them. That controller's done that very realistically. They will always ask you, because they typically want to know what you're trying to fly, because the gauges, the Mach numbers aren't very precise. They can wobble up and down a bit, so it's all about knowing what you're targeting. Everyone's targeting only to 2 decimal places, 78, 79, 77. There's extra digits just to be over precise, but you can't actually select it. However, the box may, when you change the consonants in the box, the number does change to a finer degree, but yeah, we don't know how to do that. Richard Dudley says, I'm a 146 pilot, 1,000 feet per minute seems to be missing a 0. Yes. Oh, that's interesting. So Lauren V says, the controllers can only see how fast you're going in ground speed. They have no idea what Mach you're trying to do. There you go. So they can see what you've targeted as a flight level, but they can't see in the real world. Controllers can anyway. But yeah, there you go. That would explain it if they can only see your ground speed. Interesting. I didn't know they couldn't see the Mach number. Grumpy says, do you have a fast estimation for the 048 CG on the init B? We can't get to the init B page now, I'm afraid, but effectively 0 fuel weight is your weight of the aircraft with everything on board except the fuel, hence 0 fuel weight. It sounds convoluted, but there's a good reason for it, because there's a structural limit the aeroplane can take where that is the maximum The fuel sits in the wings, remember, so there's differences in there's a reason there's a limit on that, because otherwise this airplane can take off at, let's say, I don't know, 78 tons or something. They all have different weights these days. So let's say it's 78 tons, or maybe it's a bit less, 77 tons, but let's say it takes off at 77 tons, but only had 3 tons of fuel on. That would mean that there is a 74 tons sitting in the fuselage, which of course is a huge amount of weight, and I don't know if this is the case, but something I'm totally guessing here now, so don't take this seriously, but I can see why there would be a zero fuel weight, because the wing spar and the wings need to hold everything up in the air, of course. If you put all the weight in the fuselage and only a little bit of weight in the wings, then there must be huge pressure on the joints and the wing spar running through here, because all that weight's in the middle weighing down and the wings are holding it up. So my total guess is the zero fuel weight is done for that reason, and where the landing gear is and where the pressure points are and all sorts. Whereas of course the fuel sits in the wings, so it doesn't increase that pressure. It actually, lifts itself, as it were. Lauren B says, I think true airspeed can be inferred by the controller via motor C. Ah, there you go. Maybe they can. Maybe they can. Yeah, anyway, that's my total guess. So that's what zero fuel weight. Zero fuel weight CG is the center of gravity of the airplane before you add fuel. Adding fuel doesn't usually change the center of gravity much, but it's still... so the zero fuel weight CG is used for performance calculations, and then the airplane can calculate where the actual CG is after the fuel has been added, because it knows where the fuel is. The fuel is always going to the same place. Obviously, in this case, in line with the wings. On long-haul aircraft, they'll maneuver the fuel to keep the actual CG in the right place by sending it to different fuel tanks around the airplane. Armin Addict says, those light settings on the flypad are presets you can save for lighting. For example, if it's nighttime, you can dim the lights on the flight deck and save those settings so you don't have to keep turning knobs next time. One click fix. I see. Very clever. That's a good idea.
Level 90 at Pittsburgh.
So we're currently in dusk. There we go. Nice. Frankly, I don't change the lighting much, so I've got everything turned up to pretty much full. That's just what I'll set it to every time now. Yeah, some people adjust the integral lights. I mean, the only thing you'll do is when it gets really dark, then you'll dim the annunciator lights. And you might turn down like the overhead integral lights. They can be pretty bright, so you'll turn a few of those. I don't actually like these floodlights. Most people love them, but I don't leave these lights on much. I'm not a huge fan. Their only advantage is that they do light up this panel if you need it. Doc says, I have a question. Do you calculate takeoff landing performance manually, or do you have some software tablets? In real life, we'll have software or tablets. One of those. It's never done manually, well, typically, unless there's some reason. But yeah, what a great feature. The down zero, up zero in the flaps perf is to do with the trimmable horizontal stabilizer. I don't use it. You don't need to use it. Crispy says, usually I get a TCAS traffic alert when my rate of climb or rate of descent is too great with converging traffic. I can set vertical speed 1,000 feet per minute or less to prevent traffic alerts. Yes. Not always, but yes, because of course, if the other aircraft is ascending quickly, you'll both get the traffic alert regardless of your own vertical speed. But yes, reducing a vertical speed as you get close to level off is a way to avoid those traffic alerts. There's actually a... Oh, was that us? Yeah, there's actually a new thing coming to aircraft where if they get a traffic alert, they'll actually reduce the rate of descent themselves, even if it's too high. It's very clever. Undercover Rubber Duck says, do you ever miss manual flying like it's in Boeing or in Cessna, or do you think the Airbus aim there and get it goes is more pleasant and fun? No, I don't miss manual flying. No. You got to remember, the Airbus is not quite as... it is a computer, and it is thinking about it before, as you do it. But it doesn't do it perfectly. It can't line up with the runway itself visually. It can't fly around. You know, the landing is, when I do it myself, is still me doing it regardless, and I'm putting the airplane where I want to put it. Now, the way I put the airplane where I want to do it is slightly different. I use a side stick, and the airplane does interfere a little bit in the backgrounds, but only in the sense that it's just a different style, as it were. But it's just like driving a different car. I keep comparing it to cars, but it's like getting into a different, slightly more computerized car compared to another one. I really don't miss it, because I still feel like I'm flying the airplane. I'm putting the airplane where I want it, and I'm landing it how I want to land it. And I have a technique to do that, just like I had a technique to do it on the dash, which was very, very manual. Totally, you know, using cables. There wasn't even much hydraulics on that, and I can't say that felt amazing by comparison. It just felt like I was flying an airplane, you know. In an Airbus, if the wing drops on approach, you have to lift it with the side stick. You have to use the side stick just the same. It's quite natural. So no, I've never thought to myself, oh, I wish I could do more flying with it. The magic of the Airbus is, with some of its like auto trimming, for example, it makes flying visual approaches, in particular, a complete joy, because you're not having there's less risk involved in some senses. When you want to fly it around a corner, you just put in some roll. It won't drop the nose on you, and you have to retrim and add power. And that might sound fun, but actually, you know, it's not. It's a downside. It's a negative of airplanes, is that when you turn them, they. Unicom 1228, speed of 315. Goodbye. Yeah, it's effectively a negative trait that the airplanes drop the nose when you're flying around a turn, because of the way the lift vector goes. So the Airbus just takes that away, makes it handle nicer. Same with engine thrust. In a 737 or any low engine jet, when you add power, the nose will go up. When you take it away, it go down, and you'll have to retrim as well. But the Airbus doesn't do that, and that's great. So I can adjust the power myself and fly the aircraft myself, and I don't then have to retrim it, which again, it's just a downside of where the engines are. In a CRJ, for example, the engines are at the back, so it doesn't have that effect, you know. So I'm talking a lot now, but yeah, no, I think the Airbus is lovely to fly. It's what I should have just said. Daniel, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Glad you enjoy the videos. So Lorenzo says, as we head towards northern Italy, I know you've flown to Turin in the sim. Have you ever flown it in real life? How is it like? It's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah. It's lovely. Lorenzo says, would you like to fly a Boeing, or would you prefer staying on an Airbus? I really don't mind. I don't mind. I've never flown a Boeing of any variety, so yeah, experiencing more is a good thing. But I wouldn't mind flying another Airbus, or the 380, or the 340-600. Who can dream? Why do you prefer fly-by-wire over Phoenix, says Daniel? I don't. I have been flying both, so I like them all. And Nixana says, hi, at cruise, would it be difficult to continue flying manually if you had dual autopilot failure? No, autopilot off. Now, you're not allowed to stay here. So autopilot's now off, but as a technicality, I'm not allowed to stay here like this because we're not RBSM compliant. We have to be RBSM compliant to stay up here. So that it's a technicality means we can't, but lo and behold, the Airbus is very stable. There's less in turbulence and so on. It wouldn't be much fun. Now, in some aircraft, this would be quite an unusual situation because it would handle very differently to how you're used to it handling low down. But in the Airbus, the side stick is still going to command a rate of roll and a G. So as you can see, it still flies exactly the same as it does lower down. That is a perk of the Airbus, whilst we're in normal law, remember. But that is a perk of the fly-by-wire system, that we are just commanding roll rates and G's. So it's exactly the same input for me on the side stick to make the airplane behave as it would lower down. However, it doesn't have the same performance. So that's where this is why we're not allowed to fly around up here normally. We're not used to handling these aircraft up here because, as you saw, if I put in a normal sort of input and nosed up, alpha proc comes right through and you're immediately at a low speed event. And I shouldn't do this, I'll get in trouble now. And that's because the air's much thinner, the loading's much higher. Yeah, no surprise. So, but no, ultimately, if you were in a failure situation and you needed to fly around up here manually, no problem at all in the Airbus, not an issue. Zenta says, hi all, as somebody coming from X-Plane 11 to Microsoft Flight Simulator, is the Phoenix 320 a must-have or does the fly-by-wire perform very similarly? That's a question for everyone else to answer. Yeah, see what they think. Lots of good answers there. Christy says, auto trim and tray table are the best things about the Airbus. Yes, indeed. Indeed. Indeed, IAE engines are coming to the Phoenix for free. Indeed. I don't know when though. That's been public for I think for a long time. So yeah. Richard says, I don't trust any plane that comes with a steering wheel. Fair enough. Yeah. Garrickson says, my coffee in the cabin is now all over the floor. Yes. Yes, you would have really felt that. That would have been quite some turbulence to climb and descend like that. Frosty Cab says, how heavy are the side sticks in the real plane, and is there much friction on the throttles? I've always wondered, as flying at home, most controls are extremely light. Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. So it's also heavily damped, so when you let go, it smoothly goes back to center. So if you've ever used a Thrustmaster Warthog, that's similar. I've got the Wing grip as well, and that's a similar sort of weight. Throttles also heavier, they're bigger, they feel heavy and substantial when you use them. Yeah, much heavier than the Thrustmaster ones. Yeah, they're heavy. They're good. I like them. Small range for manual thrust, but it works. You can do it. Yeah. Richard says, does the side stick actually move, or is it pressure sensitive like F-16? Side stick most certainly moves. Yeah, moves quite a lot. Yeah, so it's not like the F-16, sadly. I think that'd be pretty cool. Jack, there is a Discord in the video. It should take you there in the description. E-World's not going to vote on who's better, since I'm not neutral. Well done, Lauren V. Yeah, that was the first officer. First officer walked past and complained, but hasn't actually bothered to shut up for work. She's gone downstairs. I assume she's going to go and eat something, and then she'll come back and complain a bit more, knock over the cups on my desk. That's my guess. That's my guess. Depends what mood she's in. Beautiful day. Look at that. Love it. Oh, we're going to have to get an outside shot. Oh, should we do time for a bit of drone flying, perhaps? Is that too loud? I hope not. Oh no. Oh no. That didn't work. What did I do? Why is... So my drone didn't let me fly it. That's annoying. What's happened there then? No. No, the drone is just flying the airplane. Oh well. We are not going to be drone flying this evening. We'll have to stick with the normal. That's not bad though, is it? That's cool when you're just above the... yeah, the sun's shining on the airplane but not the ground. The ground's all in shadow now. Very nice. I know, Sowski, 7 hours behind my screen in the Cross the Land event just to crash in Doha. Oh dear. Sorry, Sowski. Sorry to hear that. Oh, there we go. There's the Discord invite. Thanks, Tom Corwine. Good to see you, Tom. I hope you're doing well. Richard Darcy likes the Verpal base. Yes, I hear good things about the Verpal base. Ah, there we go. I was right. First officer is joining us. Hello. Yeah? Complaints? Thoughts? Suggestions? Yeah? You going to join us? You say hello? Never. Never says hello. Alright, let's get back inside because it sounds like the airplane's doing something. No, there we go. Is he going to say hello now? Anything? Just a complaint. Just a complaint. And she's leaving. That wasn't much work. I'm docking you an hour's pay. Chickboy says FO is only here to complain, not to talk. Exactly. Daniel May drives super tugs to taxi the planes. Fantastic. That sounds good fun. Good for spotting. Charlie says, is a default A320 good? No, go for the fly-by-wire mod. Much better. It's not even there's no doubt. I don't think anyone would expect you to use the default. I mean, I don't know where it's at now. If you're flying on, if you're using Xbox, can you use? Are there any add-ons for the Xbox Airbus A320? I don't know. Nixana says, thanks for the answer. My employer had a similar AP failure sometime back in cruise on a 738. Had to obviously change aircraft once I landed. Yes, so you could fly it just fine. It would be a bit different in the Boeing, but you'd manage. Pilots are trained to be able to fly it up there, but you would have to. You wouldn't be able to carry on after that because you can't go into RVSM. However, on the Dash 8, I can say you can fly around all day without the autopilots working because it doesn't go into RVSM. Ask me how I know and how much fun that was. Tiffany says, when you started flying with the Airbus, was it weird flying with the left hand? So, we talked about this a little bit in the past. You fly with your left and right hand all throughout your career. It swaps over depending on what seat you're in. So, you get used to flying with either or. Crispy Chip says, in the 330 there's a trim tank to shift the CG. On the 350 there's a differential flap camber to change the shape of the wing and shift CG. Wow, I did not know that. Very clever stuff that they've added to 350 then. Igloo would like a visual approaches video. Visuals used a lot in the US. Okay. I'll only be able to give you my context on that, which would be European visual approaches, but hopefully that helps. Armin Addict says, on some 5 to 6 hour flights, my dev A32NX randomly starts going around in a circle. No discontinuities in the flight plan. Any reason? I'm afraid I don't know. This is stunning, stunning, stunning. Let's dim that light. Oh, this is why we do this job. This is exactly the sort of view we want. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You don't have all these circles, by the way, on the window. This is a Microsoft Flight Simulator thing. I don't know where they got it from. Unless everyone's been strapping GoPros to their face. Philly says, haven't flown a fly-by-wire in a few months since Phoenix. How is it? Yeah, so we're having good fun with it today. Yeah, we'll see how the descent goes. But very good. It's fantastic. Got a terrain display now. How brilliant's that? And also the sound effects are just fantastic. Wild Womble, thanks for coming along. Enjoy your dinner. Yeah, my dinner's coming up soon. Daniel says, I just don't start engines now. I know more about the airplanes because of your videos. I know pretty much all the systems on the Airbus, including the MCD. Thanks, Daniel. Glad you enjoy the videos. Daniel says, I fly sims now. When I get inside them in real life, I get to practice. Sorry for the long message. No, not at all, Daniel. Just as long as you don't start the engines. But that does sound like a great job. Thanks for coming along and sharing that. Yaroslav, good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Great to see you too. Manual trim sheet. Oh dear, no. I don't think I'll be able to do that. Patrick says, would you rather fly the Q400 for Flyby or the ATR for Logan Air? I won't answer that one. 350 is a Lamborghini of Airbus, says the Chaos. Yeah, I suppose so. I guess it's probably the fastest. So yeah. Yeah. The A380 is the Rolls Royce. And the Airbus is the Ford Focus. Lauren V says, I could definitely add more context to American style visual. There you go. That could be something for the future. Why are HUD so rare on the A320, says Ivan? So the aircraft was designed without a HUD. There were early HUDs on it, but it doesn't need it. The screens and so on are all set up without it. Unlike, for example, the Boeing 787, where it was designed into the airplane from the start. So, what's the advantage of a HUD? Well, it gives you the ability, in some situations, very few, to fly the aircraft in lower visibility than otherwise. So you can take off with slightly extra reduced visibility and maybe land in it as well. That's it. And those situations are very rare because the Airbus is already very capable. It can take off down to 125 meters visibility, which is very low. I've seen that only a couple of times. And it can land in 75 meters, which I've never seen. 75, that's incredibly low, as long as the airport supports it. And the airport has to support it. So it's the chances are, even if they brought out the HUD to the Airbus, why would you pay for it? What's it going to achieve? If you had a private aircraft and you're flying around for fun, then yeah, sure, I'd get one. But it just doesn't have any other purpose, really. So no one's going to pay for it. So they won't. I know they do make it. There's a new one out. There was the old one, and now there's a new HUD. I don't know what it looks like. I've never seen it. I doubt I ever will. But there is a HUD available. DID says, I downloaded Microsoft Flight Simulator. Won't let it show on my library, and I cannot find a way to get it back in my library. I always want to be pilot. Ah, sorry, Daddy. Can't help you there. Yeah. Lauren B says, not the ATR, it just feels and looks so slow. There you go. I'd love the Richard, how's the, well, no, Richard says it, the Verpil Tomcat grip is pretty nice. I'd love to try that. Something I'll have to try one day. Still the only airplane I fly in Nice, yes. Thanks for the subscription. To Pongpole. Chris says, I think the HUD is mainly on wide bodies as a diversion due LVO is much more costly than for narrow bodies. Yeah, it could be. It could be that in those situations it's worth it. Flight Simulators 197 says, when I fly in real life, I would always love to say hi to the pilots at the end of the flight, but always chicken out. What is your experience with it? Do pilots mind or enjoy aviation enthusiasts coming to say hi? I certainly absolutely think it's great. So if all you need to do is just ask the cabin crew. If you ask earlier on in the flight, that's probably better, but if you're asking on the way out, then they can just jump in and check. But if during the flight you say, is it alright if I speak to the pilots after we park or when we arrive, then they can ask the pilots earlier on in the process, and that way the pilots will be expecting someone. The problem is it's totally fine to just not, even if you don't do that, if you're just walking out and you want to say hi and you ask, then yeah, but there is a small risk the door might still be closed, or they might be doing something else, or they might be getting ready to go to the next flight or whatever. So yeah, but no, I think it's great. It's always fun to chat to someone who enjoys aviation, and especially someone who knows a little bit about the aircraft, because you get a lot of people who don't know, which is great as well, of course. But it is nice when someone is really keen and interested. And it's probably worth. I tell you what's worth it. If you think you're going to get to speak to them, have a question in mind. You might not have one. It doesn't matter if you don't. But if there's something you want to ask, because I see a lot of people come and you say, do you have any questions? And they get a bit surprised by that, because the question you ask will help the pilots know where you're coming from, how much you know, or what you're interested in. So if you ask a question like, are you scared flying, then the conversation won't be very technical. If you ask a question like, I don't know, I wouldn't know what to ask myself, frankly. because you probably, if you're watching these streams and you're flying the Airbus, you probably know, you'll know the stuff that people often show, like showing, some people are interested in these screens where we can show diagrams of the systems, in particular like things like the door page, because it's clearly a map of the airplane, that sort of thing. But yeah, if you can think of it, you might want to ask them a procedural thing, like or about that flight that day. Who knows? But anyway, it would help them pitch it, I suppose. But no, pilots certainly, very few will mind. There might be some that do, but if they do, then that's their problem, not yours. But there might be occasions where you want to see the pilots and the cabin crew might just say no, or the pilots might say no. Don't be offended if that happens. That can happen just because things are busy. You know, there might be some paperwork needed. There might be some MEL item on the airplane, or they might need an engineer and they speak to an engineer after landing, things like that. Because sometimes you'll arrive and the passengers won't know anything was wrong, but the airplane might have had a small problem that needs to be looked into before it can fly again. So, you know, things like that. So don't be offended if there's not time. But yeah, I would say if there is, I do like chatting to people. Beaky would like a livery check. Heading out into the night. Patrick says, how do you control how much reverse thrust is used? Do you always use the reverses? Not always, and yeah, you just have to be careful with it. Okay, we can't be that far away now. That is Venice. So we're getting there. Starting to descend at about 80 miles. Good. I'm getting hungry. I don't know why the Fly Life Studio seems to have given up. Really don't know why, but there we go, it has. We are definitely closer than that. So just the last few questions and then I'm going to set up, talk about why I like this approach. DME arc to landing. You don't do DME arcs, Scott, directly to landing, but you do fly them on approach. We might see one here today. Frosty says, what I noticed when I got a look in the real flight deck was just how clear the screens are and how good the resolution is compared to the sim. Hardly surprising, but caught my attention. Yes, the LCD screens are good. If you saw the older screens, you'd probably say how you're surprised how much worse they were than the sim. Matteo managed to get an A350 cockpit visit on his last trip. The crew was more than willing to chat with him, but immigration was not so happy he took his sweet time getting the passport. There you go. Yes, there's probably some ground stuff waiting. So don't wait until if you want to see the flight deck, it's better not to be last off the airplane, because there's probably less time by that point. That's true, because the gate staff will want to get you off and in the right channels. But still, that's, you know, the crew will look after you. It's not up to the ground staff, it's up to the crew. There we go, starting to get the view. Yep, there's the Milky Way, just brilliant. Love it. We're actually going to do a bit. Should we do a bit of night flying for the first time in ages? I'm hoping you'll still be able to see the city. Captain was flew with American on the way, Elling's on the way back. I hope you had a good trip. Lauren V says, Fly Live and Microsoft Flight Simulator don't always play nice. No, indeed, today they seem to have decided not to. It's been very good so far, though, I must say. James says, I put a load of distance between you, so it should be out of the way. Excellent, James. I'll set up the approach shortly. Chris says, do you have a systematic way to tell if you've landed too long, which necessitates a go-around? I just learnt to add your float onto your factored landing distance. So if you go past the touchdown zone, it's typically when you need to go around. If you don't have one, then you'll need to pick some sort of feature. If you don't have any obvious features, then it's going to be a case of you'll just be able to tell from the cadence of how the landing's gone as to whether you floated. And if you're not sure, then you have to just go around. Jack says, I love the older screens, the one with the curve. Yeah, they're okay at night. In the daylight and sunny days, they're not so great. And they're not very good for the weather radar either. The camera crew had to come fetch him, says Laurie. Yeah, there you go. On a long-haul aircraft, I imagine it's easy for you to go up to the flight deck, and the door, of course, won't be right by the flight deck. On short-haul, you know, it's a bit more obvious what's going on, but on long haul you could sit there and get lost in it, I'm sure. That's great. I'll have to go on Discord and see. I didn't see that chat. Shouldn't the A320 NEO burn less fuel than it does right now, says Jacob. No, I think that's about right. 920, maybe it's a little bit high, but no. It's just over 2 tons for the old ones, just under for, or just about 2 for the Neos. Yeah. Ah, fair enough, Laurie. It might be in a Dan Air virtual. I'll have a look. Because I haven't been on an A350 flight deck, so I'd love to see it. David says, would be nice if a sober kit starts to twinkle. Yes, and a few shooting stars, please. Beautiful. With the moon like this, you maybe wouldn't get such a good view of the galaxy, but I think it's working out nicely for the stream. Yes, Lorenzo says, that's why I didn't ask the cabin crew when I flew to Sicily in June and my flight was 8 hours late and it was past 1 AM. Yes, fair enough. It was over in virtual data. There we go. Right, let's get ready. We are heading down shortly. Enter desk data. So there won't be a controller. There is no one around Italy, so that's okay. We're going to grab a weather. Send. What I'm going to do, whilst we set up, get the light on. Print. Does the print automatically send it here now? There you go. There's a Dan Air virtual if you'd like to join. Fantastic virtual airline. Great fun. Great bunch of people running it too. Right. There we go. So, flight plan. Let's set this up. Plan. Zoom in. Bring up the charts. There we are. We are pretty much there. Left it shockingly too late. Open charts. So there's only 2 options for the stars. We put in the one Delta. Ah, no, I want to do the arc. So let's do the Black Ox is where we're coming in via. 2 Bravo is the arc. So let's change that round. Arrival. Black Ox. 2 Bravo. I want to see if it flies the arc. I think it has the arc in it now. So you see a few more track miles. So the top of the descent arrow moved away slightly. Very good. So the VNAV calculations are working. Via derricks, which is correct. So we'll do that. It should show us. I think this should move along to that part, but there we go. Anyway, and then the ILS 01 Zulu. So insert that. And now let's just have a look. So as you scroll along, via Circum, Bagno Everett. There you go. It has drawn the arc. Their custom LNAV working great. Round the arc in derricks. Look at this. Just fantastic. Fantastic. So in it goes. Derricks. So this arc, we need to be at different altitude constraints. So what's the note 1? So it should be flight level 90 after Lacox, but note 1 is... I hate notes. I don't like them. It's by ATC, you could go down to 5.5. MSA is 5.5, so 5.5 is safe, but you can actually go lower by ATC. So we won't do that. We'll just follow it normally. So starting at Lacox, we want to be 90. We're actually going to be above it, and then it's got the descent planned. So let's see how it works. I'll compare it to my track miles as we go as well, of course, all the way around to arrive at derricks at about 2,800 feet. Actually, we should be a bit higher. We should be at 5,500 at derricks. And then, let me just bin the departure charts. And then we're going to fly the approach. There's Zulu 01. Derricks at 5,000 feet. Interesting. Okay. So no, 2,800 feet would be roughly what we need to be. Landing elevation is 700 feet up. So no, that's only 2,200 feet above the runway. That's 6 mile intercept. So that makes sense. So derricks is 10 miles out. So 10 miles we need to be about 3,300 feet. So we can be about 4,000 feet at derricks and safely make it in. Otherwise, if we arrive at derricks at 5,000, we'll have to do the hold because it would be too high. So ignore what I said earlier. We will follow the by ATC. So we'll be down at 4,000 feet at derricks, and then that should work out to join the approach straight from there. It's going to be a little bit tight, but there we go. So this is an interesting approach. As we come down the approach, it is going to be a 3.4 degree approach, so it's slightly steep. I actually filmed my hot weather video in Perugia because I was going to talk about this, but in the end, I think there are so many things we discussed. But yeah, it's not too hot today, I don't think. We can check that. Temperature on the ground, 21 degrees. So it's perfectly reasonable now as the evening's worn on. But it's quite a drop down over the terrain. We'll go flap full, of course, and I want to be flap 2 and below 180 knots, and definitely below the absolute limit. And if we are 180 knots as we start down the glide slope, we may see the speed increase. We shall see how it works out in the A320NX. But in the real aircraft, that would be something I'd be wary of. Because if you've got a steeper approach, you have to fly a higher vertical speed to maintain it, which means the airplane will naturally not slow down as well as you're used to. So we may need the gear. If we need the gear, we need the gear. Now here's something of note. This lump here looks pretty insignificant on the chart, and if you look at the chart, this looks like the most important thing, and it is. But so this is a spot height. This is the highest height on the chart, 4,232 feet above sea level. But this hill here is 2,229 feet above sea level, and we're going to pass it at so that's just over 6 miles. We're going to pass it at 2,800 feet. It's crazy. So you go well, we'll be slightly higher actually. It's slightly outside 6. But effectively, we're going to pass over that hill, and the rad out's going to go all the way down to 1,000 feet, and that is not going to be an issue. But it does it way early out, so it's quite disorientating, and it's quite visible on the approach. It's quite interesting. So we shall have a look at that. Richard says, "Can you set it up to fly DME arc manually, as in put the distance in, not fly it with heading?" Ooh, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I don't know how. I don't know if you can code it yourself. I've never had that come up actually. So that's something I'm afraid I just don't know. Yeah, I've never had to do it. Why would you code a DME arc? I don't know. I suppose if you wanted to fly a visual approach with the autopilot in, and you wanted to fly around a distance and in, you might want to. But yeah, I haven't done that. Lots of chat I'm missing out on, so I do apologise. And by the way, if you hear any squeaking sounds through the microphone, what you're hearing is my chair. It's too old. It was not a fancy chair, and it creaks and squeaks all stream long. It always has. So yeah, long-term viewers are pretty used to that, I'm sure. So Lauren B says Vegas actually would have been a great place to do hot weather ops. Regularly tops 40 degrees in the summer. Yeah, there you go. And it's pretty good elevation as well. Yeah, very good. Right, top descent reach. I think that's probably accurate. Track miles in 120 miles. Yeah. So the VNAV is working. I'm going to start down. We're past the Alps, flight level 100 initially, thrust side open descent. I would put it in managed, but because we're high on the profile, it would actually accelerate, and I don't want that too much. I'm going to go for medium auto brake. We do need to finish this off, because I am running late, of course. So there is the approach. That hill is on the way, so I'm going to make sure we're configured, but we're going to go over that, and then the 1,000-foot call will come a bit later in the normal place. Go around is obviously a left turn to get away from the terrain. High MSAs all around. So let's do things properly. I'm going to put in a fixed info. Oh no.
From the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial
that voice is back.
Would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we prepare
that is, of course, V1 Simulations. Letting his hand over for the voice of the PAs. They used to say something when you loaded up the airplane, and he used to always repeat it twice, which cabin crew seats for takeoff, I think. But that seems to have gone now, which is maybe that's back and now turned on those announcements. Ah, there you go. You can set the LS and FD buttons to sync. That's what that one meant. I was wondering what that meant. Thanks to the chaos. Thank you. Yeah, there are sometimes conditional waypoints, Frosty Cab. How to add them yourself, I don't know. They're typically coded in, but there is a way to do it. But I've never had to do the above 3,000, that sort of thing, because they'll always be in there. But yeah, custom waypoints I did make a video on for sort of the classic ones. Indeed, hello V1 says RMV. Right. This is based on PRUVOR. 25 radius. And let's just pick the north-south radial. And we'll use 84 on the other side. So 359. So that is going to be 359 inbound. So that is 179 radial. I don't know why these charts are done like this. And then the other way, oh yeah, obviously it's 179, so it's just 359. Fair enough. It worked out this time. Good. Check on the airplane. Descending just fine. We are obviously high. Brake medium is armed. That's all good. Only 1,400 feet above profile. No problem there. Sights of Italy. So let's put in the weather. QNH of 1016. Temperature of 21. Winds 3403. Good. Minima. Straight in approach. These temperatures were quite heavy. So yeah, can you do 5%? Not guaranteed, because remember this needs to be with an engine failure. We'll definitely do it on 2 engines, but with an engine failure, would we be alright? So that would take us all the way down to 955. I'm going to put in this 1224. It won't be an issue today. Flat fall for landing, because of that steep approach. I want to do that. And the going altitude, if we need to do it, we're going to climb all the way to 4,000 feet. 160 knots in that turn, so we'll leave flat 1 out for the turn. Good, so flight plan's done. RadNav is tuned India Papa Echo 11095 011 on the course, which is all correct. Progress page, LIRZ 01 as the threshold. There it is. Performance, done. Fuel, well, we know we actually have extra fuel. It's just not working anymore. Secondary we're not using. Good. Let's dim the lights. So nighttime work for everyone. Maybe we'll just do dim on the overhead. In real life, at this point, I would definitely turn it all off to let my eyes adjust to the outside world. So it's up to you guys, really. Frosty says, that's why I've seen it done on the MD-11. They just add pilot waypoints and the arc distance and create a waypoint every 10 degrees. There you go. That is another way. Yeah. Randy, we put the weather into the FMGC for 2 reasons. It helps it for ground speed mini, so adjusting the approach speed in turbulence. It also helps for, I love the glow around the edge of the screen, by the way. It also helps for the pressurization system needs to know the pressure on the ground so it can adjust its rate accordingly. Getting a bit bumpy. Having a hard time choosing a view. Oh, I love the strobe light into the moisture in the air. Probably not much moisture up here, but still, it's a great effect. There could be 25,000 feet. There could be. So high on profile. Let's go to manage descent now. Des. But it's activated the approach phase. That shouldn't have done that. Why has that happened? Have I pressed something? No, it hasn't activated it. So I don't know why the speed has come back that far, unless it was coded as such. Anyway. There are certain rules we follow of the Airbus, which is if it's not doing what you want, tell it what you want. So we're going to Veren, then Lacox. At Lacox, we said 90. Also, of course, we need the taxi charts. So it is. We're going to land. Maybe we'll come off the end. Maybe we'll backtrack. 2,100 meters, so medium water brake most certainly for that. Laura Mason said the Toliss will prioritise the path when it managed speed. Is that true for Airbus? Yes. Oh, hold on. Let me think. It's not something we do very often, because if you're in managed speed, managed descent, you'd normally be in managed speed. Goodness, would it prioritise the descent vertical path? I think it would, but I'm going to have a check of that. So remind me next time. Yeah, but the thing is, once you activate approach phase, then it does unravel. But this hasn't actually activated it, so that's a little bug. Something's happened there. Not sure what. But no problem. We're just doing it ourselves. That's fine. We are going to go to flight level 90 indeed. 90 in the window. Dim this down a little bit. I'll leave those horrible planner lights on because it does at least give something for you guys to see. Brake medium arm is disappearing because of my hardware isn't interacting very well with the A320NX at the moment. To get these charts, I'm using the Navigraph plugin. Scott says, I didn't realise you can put the whole arc approach in MCD. Yeah, as long as you choose the right one, the arcs will be in there. Amsa says, how long is the flight? It was about 2 hours, but it's almost over. No remittance in the Toliss as well. It will target path in managed speed and altitude when the approach phase is active. Goodness me. It's a great question. You'll notice it thinks we're low now. So now it's targeting speed, most definitely. Oh, hold on. No, it's not. So let's put it all back to... Yeah, there we go. This is more what we wanted. This is what I was expecting it to show up as. So now it should raise the nose and sink to the bottom of that speed bracket. If you're far enough away, it will actually add power and get there. So I'm just curious to see what it does now. Yeah, about 1,000 feet per minute until it intercepts it. Let's see if that happens. VNav is experimental to start, but yeah, exactly, it is. But I'm trying to think what the real airplane which one it would prioritize. I think it would do the vertical path, but that's my guess. Yeah, I don't know what happened to the speed bracket earlier. Maybe a waypoint or something had some coding it didn't like. How is this? Are you guys enjoying watching this with the dark view? We don't do it very often. I stopped doing it because I had a few streams like that and I thought, it doesn't look great. Carrington says, I always push it to the bottom by getting the speed brakes out. Phoenix struggles. Yeah, VNav's a hard one to get right. It's a big... There we go. So now it's met the criteria. It should reduce to idle, which it is. So this is looking good. And then it should just stay in that bracket for the descent. But it will do that 1,000 feet per minute with thrust on until it gets a bit closer. So yeah, that's looking good. Not so looking good is this little window here. Black Ox and then the intercept. So let's see what happens as we get there. We may need to intervene a little bit. So here's Perugia. Summer nights are great. Winter though, we definitely want to change the clocks about. There you go. Those 7 nights. Scott says, I love it more realistic looking in any case. Yeah, we haven't done it for a while. I think it's time. Right, soon to come will be approach checklist. And I should do an announcement. Perugia traffic, speedbird 315 is 20 miles west of Perugia. And flying the DME arc to land in ILS 01. Don't know if that's what you'd broadcast. Probably not. Probably should give the altitude or something else. But there we go. Not something I do day to day. Nick Sana says, loving the night flight. Okay, sold. Great. Thank you. Let's dim these screens down a little bit. You do dim the screens, by the way, as the evening wears on. That's true. So does the light configs change the screens as well? Pretty cool if it does. Very cool indeed. So on profile, 12,000 feet. Makes sense. We've got 37 miles. Ooh, a little bit sporty. I'd say we need 37. Reducing to 250. There you go. Back to speed. I don't want to be any higher than this. 36 miles, 12,000 feet. Yeah, I think it's a little bit optimistic. I'm actually going to go open descent and leave the speed where it is. Not uncommon to take control at this stage of this sort of thing. So let's bring the LS up. Ah, yeah, so this was assessing in here now. Sync EFIS. I was wondering what it meant. I thought it was talking about the distances and so on for the screen. But no, they're still separate. That's cool. Okay, very good. So it's syncing LS. Nice. That's a good idea. Right, round we go. C Shoemaker says, loving your vids. First time catching your stream, very enjoyable. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thanks for coming along. I do enjoy the streams. Let me load up the replay software. Oh, that's bright. I've just blinded myself with full screen. So that's the excuse for landing. I just got a big white screen in my eyes. Good. It's good to have an excuse. Sorted this early. Get the recorder up. Good. Okay. Keramo says, loving the night flight since you usually don't see it much on YouTube due to it being hard to see in the dark. Yeah, it's often a bit of a pain. So getting to 10,000 feet, let's get the landing lights on. Let's get this aeroplane lit up. Out they come. Wow. Yeah, they are bright. Love the volumetric effects on the lights. Very, very cool. And we are getting into the humid layer, so that would be a reasonable expectation. Now we're going to drop down to 5,500 feet. 9, 18, 27. We've got 25, so we are high and fast effectively. So speed brake's coming out. Get the airplane to slow down. Set the QNH. 1016 out here. Thanks for the subscription, ADS Legend. Yeah, we need to get on top of this now, or we're going to have the same situation we had last time. I'm going to activate the approach phase now, so it's done, but I'm going to pull the speed so that we keep the descent going. Power F is now on the QNH. Seatbelt. Oh, yeah, good one. That's why I checked the seatbelt's on. Minimums are set. Auto brake medium. Engine mode select stays in normal. That's complete. Next is the landing checklist. Eco memory landing the blue. Very good. Yeah, that is the traditional Airbus one. So I'm not sure we're going to see this hill, sadly, which is the whole point of coming here. But we shall see. Jeremy says, also want to thanks for the stream. It's always such a comfy experience in here. Your voice is really soothing, not going to lie. I'm glad it is, Jeremy. It's always great to hear that. So thank you for coming along. Thank you for saying so. Here's these little streets and towns and cars. I love evening approaches. I really do. I don't know what this airport looks like at night. But like I say, we do have the scenery. So I'm hoping it will look pretty good even at night. Richard says, on other days I'll let everyone turn on to 1 mile final. There you go. The Chaos says, if you're recording, you can just change the time of the replay. Yeah, that's a good point. I will start my recording. Definitely time. Okay, so profile's looking good. Speed's a bit fast, so let's get the speed back for the intercept. I suspect we were actually, on the chart, probably have to be slower around that arc than we were. Good. Round the turn. We are below max landing weight. I don't want to descend too quickly because there's a lot of terrain out here now. It gets quite interesting. Speed brake's still out. Now, in the real aircraft, VLS would actually come up through here with the speed brakes out. That's something that's not modelled. Speed's below, so flaps to 1. Shouldn't say that. Flaps 1. Don't say flaps to 1 because that could be confused for obvious reasons. It's intercepting the IPE, which looks good. Let's arm the approach and the second order pilot. Lockstar, Cat 1, AP1 plus 2. 6,000 feet. 13 miles. We're a bit high. I'm going to pull the speeds and wind in the new lower altitude. We can go down to 4, we agreed at this point. Let's just wind the speed back a little bit, and I can go to flaps 2. And I can drop the gear. Oh, now that's not so good. It's intercepted the glide slope, so it's dropping the nose. The real airplane wouldn't intercept the glide slope from that high up. So what we're going to get is a real dive now. So this is exactly what you don't want to be doing in this situation. I'm going to manage the speed. So we're gear down, flaps 2. Let's go to flaps 3. Oh no, don't use flaps 3. Ah, that's interesting. So in the real aircraft, the warning would go based on the actual position, not the lever position. Small bit of trivia. Yeah, so this is exactly what you don't want to do. If I show you where the ground is, oh, I'm just going to cheat. Look at that hill. This hill. So the radar's going to ramp up now. We've actually got there in time. It is just ahead of us, so it's out the way. But yeah, it is quite something to sit on approach, and then it just drops away as you get to the other side. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. Yeah. 180 knots at 8 miles, not too bad. Gear down and flaps at 2. So we're going to get rid of the speed brakes. Now we'll go to flaps 3. That's a much better idea. And let's put the time back to where it was. And there's a rad out, so it's now counting down. It's at 1,400 feet, so you'd think we're almost at time to be landing, but lo and behold, we are still 7 miles out. Let's call the cabin. Arm the ground spoilers. Flaps to full. Right. Landing checklist. ECAM memo. Landing the blue. So something worth noting as well. You see there that I called for flaps and selected them, but of course that's something that we talk about with other pilots. So the pilot monitoring would actually look at the flaps and look at the speeds and then do it. So they would just tell you, no, you can't have it in that situation. That's why having 2 pilots is still required. You know, it's capacity zapping if you're trying to sort some of these things out. Right, let's call it out then. Perugia traffic speed by 315, final 4 miles to land runway 01. Gears down, get the nose lights on. And we're at flaps full. Great. We are recording. Let's get the head tracking on. Let's see if I can make it work. Start to see the lights in the air. That's great. I could put the overlay. No, I don't have the overlay ready actually for the eyes. Sorry. So, slightly steeper approach. We're doing 800 feet per minute, even at 130 knots. Even getting to 900 feet per minute. So if we hit 1,000, that's not going to be too shocking. But it could happen. There's the finally we're actually reaching the proper 1,000 feet per minute, 1,000 foot call.
1,000.
So we are stable. Let's disconnect the autopilot. Autopilot off. Touchdown zone not lit. So yeah, we talked about this. We're going to have to judge it. Hopefully there'll be the markers on the runway. But at bigger airports, the actual zone would be lit to replace those markers. But it's not lit today. No problem.
100 above. Minimum 500.
The terminal is lit over there, so someone is home. You got to be careful arriving into these smaller airports late at night, especially if you're delayed.
300.
You might have missed the last staff have gone home.
200. 200.
There is a zone, so there we go. We can see the markers even if they're not lit.
100.
A little bit high.
50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
Idle. Oh.
5.
Bit too much there. And spoilers. Reverse screen. Decel. That was a heartbeat over the last touchdown zone marker. You might get away with saying the main gear touchdown on the marker. So definitely keeping medium auto brake. There we go. Slowed down to taxi speed, brakes released. And I'm going to do a backtrack on the runway rather than going all the way to the end. So welcome to Perugia. Yeah, I don't think my overlay is working. So 20 degrees off, get the nose over the side, and then full tiller around. And the Airbus can turn on the spot. It's fantastic. Don't want to be in reverse though when you're doing this. It's people 305 backtracking Perugia to vacate to the right. Right, let's get going. Got traffic on the way.
Speedboat 038 is 6 miles.
6 miles, no problem. No problem at all. No problem. So we are... Oh. We're going to go off to the right at this point here. Yeah, you can get the Airbus turned around. It's amazing. You can get it turned around so that even on the runway, it will finish up the turn on the center line. It's just great. Right, let's get rid of the head tracking for now. We're going to come off here. This is where it can all unravel. You don't want to start rushing. There's that hill. Isn't it amazing? What an obstacle to have on approach. It's just such an unusual sight. So, over we go. And we'll go over to terminal, just over there. Thanks so much, Chris Hippo, for the $10 tip. Really appreciate it. Chris says, thanks for teaching me what I know about flying the Airbus. You're very welcome, Chris. Thank you for the very kind donation. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Really appreciate it. Very kind. Thanks for supporting the channel. Yeah, that 0 feet per minute I don't think is right. We'll have a look at the replay. Bit of a float. I started the flare too early because I felt that there was a lot of sync happening at the end, and that led to a bit of a float, and then a bit of a correction, and then a bit of a float. Luke says, just thinking on your store, and I'm so tempted by the cat t-shirt. I have Sammy's too. Oh, excellent. There you go, Luke. Yeah, I have one of those t-shirts at home. It's, yeah, that's the FO. Oh, yeah, thank you. And Speedboat 315, runway vacated at Perugia. Thank you very much, Garrison. Great point, well made. So I'm going to leave everything on. We wouldn't normally, of course, but this is for the replay. So I'm assuming we'd like to see the replay. And what we'll do, as suggested, is adjust the time accordingly. Just so we can see what's going on. Otherwise, it won't be a particularly interesting looking replay. Here's the terminal. This is great scenery, by the way. Big fan of this. I think I got it from Microsoft's built-in store. Smiley Face says, hey, sir, I had a question about auto lands. Could you please give me... Oh, what's going on there? Could you please give me a really quick explanation about it? There's a video. I've made a video on auto landing. So that I'd recommend watching that. It's quite a long video though, so I need to do some other things with it. Where's our colleague? There they are. AC455, good to see you. AC says, just able to check in at the end. Hope flight was good. 320 pilot. Hope I can catch live one soon. Yeah, well, as I said, it's been very busy. But later on in the year, as we get past September, I think there'll be more time. We can get some more of the missions we want to get done. Oh, very nice too. That looked lovely. Excellent. Right, we're here safely. So we'll go and park up and then we'll run the replay. But yeah, I'm just going to leave everything on. Look at the scenery though, great. They've got all the taxiway markings, got the turn markers for the taxi in and out, no pushbacks. Evening Vesak, hope you're doing well. From Helsinki, excellent. Oh, it does seem sort of latches in one direction. I wonder what's going on there. Must be a setting I've got. So I think you park something like this. And then taxi straight out again. But there you go. Right. Thank you all for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it. Grumpy, thanks so much for the 5 € super chat. Really appreciate it. And that is a keep it up pair. Thanks so much, Grumpy. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Thanks for contributing towards the channel. I'm going to disconnect from VATSIM. Thank you to our colleague for flying along, James. And let's go and have a look at the replay. Now it's going to look a lot. It's going to look pretty obvious from here what happened because now it's daylight. Yeah, the rudder's sort of locking in direction. It's a new effect, but there we go. But yeah, thanks so much, Grumpy. Really appreciate it. Okay, so for the smiley face, if you want to auto land, you need to engage both autopilots on approach, although one autopilot will do it. You leave them engaged, and then you're checking that the mode changes to land at 400 feet, rad out roughly, by 350 rad out, and then it will say, it will tell you when to idle the thrust levers, and that's all you need to do. So set it up like normal, leave the autopilot in, and when it says retard, bring the thrust levers to idle, when it says. So here we go. It did freeze there. The sim did freeze there for me. That's one excuse. Overflared, dropped the nose, flared again, overflared the second time. So nearly made it in. And there's the touchdown zone. So pushing it a little bit, I would say. But yeah, that's all caused by, if we go back, James, you're very welcome. No problem at all. Glad you enjoyed it, Scott. Thanks for coming along. Cremomo as well. Glad you enjoyed it. Richard says someone's thumped a 737 hard enough on that approach to write it off. Was that in Perugia? I didn't know that. You can ignore the flight control positions. That was not obviously what we were doing. Anyway, yeah. Well, I don't think there's much else to say. That's what happened. So yeah. Challenges of landing at night in it's called a black hole, this effect, where let me just pause it. Thank you, Anonymous, for buying the comfort t-shirt. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it. Very good. That's the cat t-shirt. Excellent. Yeah, so as you saw it earlier, this is called the black hole. So what you get is, and it's just going to sound like a series of excuses for the pilots, which it is in a way. It's not too bad of an effect. There are places that are worse, but if you don't have all this lit stuff around it, and you just have darkness around the runway, it can be a bit disorientating on where you are in the process and the flare and so on. So you end up relying on other cues like the audio and the rad out call-outs and so on. Kiremo says it's all due to that pesky full screen bright replay. Exactly. I'm glad you're all on the same page here. Great. So anyway, enough of that. Ooh, thought I'd broken the sim. I couldn't complain. I've been messing it around a lot to this point. So let's put ourselves back to something like that. We've already discussed what happened with the flap speeds there. Good. So I am going to improve the weather slightly because it won't be a very interesting replay like that. I'm going to put these back to where they should be. Right. I'm going to say, Luke, thanks so much for the t-shirt order. Really appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel. Very, very kind. I hope you enjoy it. Really appreciate it. Right, yeah, so we're going to say thank you all for watching. Thank you to the moderators for looking after us. Thank you to those who've chatted along, and thank you to those who've just watched. It's all really appreciated. And of course, thanks to those who very kindly donated. And I hope you've enjoyed it, both Twitch and YouTube, as ever. You're very welcome, Garrickson and the Chaos. You went into Alpha Floor there, yeah. Hence the engines have spooled right up. Let's see if we can turn that off. There we go. Yeah, so thank you all for coming along. Really appreciate it. As I said, it's been a bit quiet on the channel recently. I know that, but that's not a long-term thing or the plan or anything like that. It's just how things have been over summer, which is a good thing, of course. I hope you've all been enjoying your summers or winters wherever you are in the world, and have been able to get back to life, which is great. But it's so great to see you all here and chat with you all again. I really enjoy this, and yeah, there will be more coming, especially as we go into the winter. So it could be, yeah, well, that's it. So thank you all so much for coming along. Please do enjoy the rest of your days and evenings, and we'll see you again in another live stream or video soon. Bye-bye.